My name is Avery. I'm a 62-year-old housewife. 2 years ago, my husband, who I had been married to for many years, passed away suddenly due to an illness. Now, I live a modest life, managing the inheritance he left me. I have 2 sons, both of whom are married. When my eldest son, Henry, got married, he and his wife offered to live with me. I told them, I appreciate your concern, but I'm still fit and fine on my own. I don't want to be a burden to you newlyweds. But Henry insisted, I can't bear the thought of you being alone. As the eldest son, it's my responsibility to take care of you. Please don't worry about being a nuisance. And so, we ended up living together. Henry's wife, Rhea, is very young, 9 years younger than Henry, only 23. At first, I worried if such a young girl could handle being a wife, but she was the one Henry chose. I found no reason to object to their marriage, so I accepted it. When we decided to live together, I asked Henry, is Rhea okay with living with me? Won't a young girl like her dislike living with an old woman like me? Henry reassured me, saying, it's fine. Rhea is kind. She'll get along with you. Besides, having you around will help us with the housework. He was adamant about us living together. I couldn't find a reason to object after hearing that. Sure, I'm getting on in years, and it's too late to start worrying when something happens. Thinking that it'd be more reassuring than living alone, I gratefully accepted Henry's proposal. After we had been living together for a while, there was a time when I asked Rhea, sorry to ask, but could you bring in the laundry? I'm going out to get groceries for dinner. Up until then, I hadn't often asked her for anything, but that day I had unavoidable errands to run before shopping, so I decided to ask her. However, Rhea retorted, why do I have to do it? I'm busy right now. You should bring it in before you go, shouldn't you? She seemed occupied playing a game on her smartphone. Even before that, she hadn't helped with any household chores, but I chose not to say anything out of consideration. However, seeing her just lying there playing her game that day, I said a bit more firmly, if it's just a game, you can play it later, right? Could you please help out a bit? Rhea, looking annoyed, grumbled, you're always nagging. Whoever's free should do the chores, right? You could bring it in before shopping. You're really annoying. With a glare at me, she went to the balcony to bring in the laundry. I was taken aback by her rudeness, but I thought it wouldn't do any good to say anything more and upset her further, so I left the house as it was. After that day, Rhea began to harass me. Ignoring me became a daily occurrence. When she didn't like the food I cooked, she would say to Henry, I can't eat this. Hey, let's go out and eat, just the 2 of us. And they would go out to eat, leaving me behind. Henry did try to consider my feelings, saying, think about Mom too. She went through all this trouble to cook. But when Rhea was in a bad mood, all he could do was say, sorry Mom, we're going to eat out today, and follow Rhea's orders. Rhea never did any housework, no matter how much I asked. Instead, she said, you're not working, right? Aren't you ashamed to rely on Henry for everything at your age? It's normal for you to do the chores, isn't it? She acted as if it was completely natural for me to do all the housework. Rhea accused me of not working, but she wasn't working either. She felt superior because she was supporting Henry, who was working. I hadn't told Rhea, but I wasn't unemployed. I had a little income from managing the apartment my husband left me. I also contributed to the household expenses, so I wasn't completely dependent on Henry. But Rhea seemed to think that because I wasn't working outside the home, I didn't have any income, and Henry was footing all the bills. Once, when I was cleaning, Rhea shouted at me, can't you clean a little quieter? That's noisy. I was just vacuuming normally, but Rhea was on a phone call and was complaining about me to the person on the other end, saying, hello, sorry about that. Yeah, it's Henry's mom. She's really noisy, isn't she? She should be able to do the housework quietly at this point. Even I was annoyed, and I told Henry about what had happened that day when he came home from work. You know, I'm not saying you have to do everything, but Rhea hasn't been helping at all with the housework. Not only that, but I got scolded just for vacuuming. It's normal to share chores, and I do my part, but I can't handle doing everything alone, especially when I get complaints, I told him. Henry replied, I'm sorry, I really am. I don't think Rhea means any harm. Maybe she was just in a bad mood today. I'll tell her to help out a bit more, so please cut her some slack today. But he didn't really take the matter seriously. Even so, I hoped that Henry would talk to Rhea, and I decided to watch how things unfolded without saying anything more. Half a year passed, and Rhea's attitude remained unchanged. She didn't even bother to pretend to help with the housework. I was utterly exhausted from managing all the chores for 3 people and constantly trying to accommodate Rhea. During this time, my second son, Lucas, happened to mention, "Mom, your birthday's coming up, right? Since Henry and Rhea will likely celebrate it on the day itself, why don't we celebrate it today? Renly also has a present for you, so let's go out for dinner." I accepted the invitation gladly. Lucas and his wife lived in an apartment about 30 minutes away from our house, so we didn't get to see each other often. Renly, Lucas's wife, was always kind and gentle, showing me a lot of care. When Lucas invited me, I replied without hesitation, "I'd love to, of course I'll go." That evening, after preparing dinner for Henry and Rhea, I joined Lucas and his family for dinner. They had reserved my favorite restaurant and surprised me with flowers and a gift bag for my birthday. It was a delightful evening, and I couldn't contain my happiness, saying, "Ah, this is so refreshing. It's been a long time since I've felt this happy." Moved by my words, Lucas asked, "Has something been bothering you with Henry? When you say it's been a while since you felt happy, it concerns me. Have things been tough for you lately?" Although I hadn't planned to complain, I explained that I was managing all the housework because Rhea wouldn't help, and how I had been scolded for being noisy and spoken to harshly. Lucas, exchanging glances with Renly, spoke up, "Mom, you don't have to endure this if it's difficult. You have income from the stocks and apartment rents Dad left behind, right? You're only staying with them because Henry wanted it that way. But if Rhea treats you badly and Henry doesn't support you, you shouldn't have to live like this. If it's hard for you to say it, I'll intervene." Renly added, "If you feel lonely living alone, we can live together. I love you very much, so please don't hesitate." Their words moved me deeply, and I felt tears welling up. I expressed my gratitude and decided to persevere a little longer, reassured by their support. "Thank you, but I'll keep trying. They're my precious family after all. I truly want to find harmony with Rhea," I replied. Returning home that night, I noticed the dishes they had used were still in the sink. With a sigh, I began to clean up but stopped myself, thinking, I always do this. It's only fair they do it tomorrow morning. So, I left the dishes as they were and retired to bed. The next morning, as I prepared breakfast, Rhea came into the kitchen. While cooking, I greeted her, "Good morning, Rhea. I'll handle breakfast. Could you please wash the dishes from yesterday?" Rhea ignored my request and instead settled on the couch, engrossed in her smartphone. Frustration bubbled up within me at her dismissive attitude, and I couldn't help but raise my voice. "It's basic courtesy to clean up after yourself." In her usual manner, Rhea retorted, "I've told you countless times, isn't that your job, mom-in-law? You know the saying, he who does not work, neither shall he eat. You eat every day, so you should do the housework." Henry hurried into the room upon hearing our exchange, looking concerned. "What's going on so early in the morning? Are you two arguing?" he asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. With a sigh, I explained to Henry, "I simply asked Rhea to wash the dishes from yesterday. I was just stating the obvious." Upon hearing my reply, Henry muttered, "Seriously, this early?" and headed to wash his face, clearly irritated. But I couldn't hold back any longer and snapped, "It's not just about this morning. Every single day, I'm the one doing all the housework. Everything, including yours. Do you realize how exhausting that is? At the very least, you could wash your own dishes." My outburst, rare for me, startled Henry. "I'm sorry, I'll take care of it," he said hastily, moving to start on the dishes. However, Rhea interjected, "Why should Henry, who works outside, have to do that? You depend on Henry, so it's your responsibility, mom-in-law." She stopped Henry's hands, clearly dissatisfied with the idea of him doing chores. Then she turned to me and said, "You're living off a pension like a pauper, causing trouble. Get out of this apartment." That was the last straw for me. Why should I leave my own home? "This house is in my name," I retorted to Rhea. Turning to Henry, I confessed my true feelings. "Rhea seems to have it all wrong, but you understand, Henry. It's you two who should leave. I can't bear living together anymore. I've reached my limit." Rhea looked visibly surprised and asked, "What do you mean? How can a jobless mother-in-law own a house? Aren't you relying on Henry?" I clarified, "I am the landlord of this apartment. I don't rent. This apartment belongs to me. When Henry's father passed away, he left me stocks, apartments, and land. I manage these assets and generate enough income to support myself. I've never depended on Henry financially. Even after we started living together, I cover most of the utilities and food expenses. Rhea was speechless, turning to Henry for confirmation. So we've been living without spending much money, she queried. Henry simply nodded in response. I chimed in. While Henry may have wanted to provide for you, Rhea, he couldn't possibly manage all aspects of my financial life, taking you out to eat, shopping, and such. Henry himself isn't earning that much yet. At that moment, Rhea seemed to grasp the seriousness of the situation. Her demeanor changed, her face paling as she said, I'm sorry, mother-in-law. I didn't realize, and I've been disrespectful. Please forgive me. Realizing that her comfortable living arrangement could be at risk if we parted ways, Rhea continued to apologize repeatedly in a flustered manner. Understanding their realization, I reassured them, I'm not saying I will forgive you. We're family after all, but continuing to live together isn't feasible. We need to address this. You both should find a place to rent and live on your own. Henry reacted urgently to my suggestion. I worry about you, Mom. From now on, Rhea and I will pitch in with the housework. I just don't want you to be alone. However, I reassured him, I'll be fine. If you're that concerned, I can stay with Lucas and his family. They offered when we went out for dinner recently, knowing I might be uneasy about living alone. Initially, I wanted to give it more time living with you two, but now I see it's not feasible. It might inconvenience Lucas, but I'll be closer to them. Henry seemed to grasp my resolve, simply saying, I understand, without further comment. In contrast, Rhea retorted, so you're abandoning us even though we've been taking care of you. Her tone blamed me. Recognizing arguing would be fruitless, I chose not to respond. Within a month, Henry and Rhea secured a new place and moved out. Given their budget, they could only afford an older, smaller apartment. Rhea, who had never worked previously, reportedly took up a part-time job to make ends meet. Henry confided that Rhea frequently complained about managing household chores in her job. Their life seemed fraught with continuous arguments, and Henry appeared utterly exhausted. Henry continued to reach out, pleading, if only you would forgive us, we want to live together again. Yet I have firmly decided not to revisit that chapter of my life. After Henry and Rhea moved out, I relocated to Lucas's home. Despite my insistence that they needed to accommodate me, Lucas expressed, having you here really helps, Mom. Renly also wants you to stay. She's eager to learn your cooking. Thus, we made the decision to live together. Since then, Lucas and Renly have assured me, feel free to speak up if something bothers you. We'll manage chores together, ensuring we don't inconvenience each other. Nowadays, I spend my time cooking alongside Renly, pursuing my hobbies, and simply enjoying a fulfilling life. I am genuinely content. Going forward, I strive to maintain this happiness without compromise.
The manila envelope felt heavy in my hands, though it contained just a few sheets of paper. My fingers trembled as I pulled out the documents, and there it was, the proof that my entire life had been built on quicksand. I'm Bridget, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I was having a normal Tuesday morning at my environmental law firm. Now I'm staring at property transfer documents for my beloved coastal home, signed by my husband Logan. Correction, my soon-to-be ex-husband, without my knowledge or consent. Bridget, Grayson knocked on my office door. The Morrison case files are ready for... Hey, are you okay? I looked up at my mentor and friend, vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. He sold our house, Gray. The bastard sold our house. What? How is that even possible? Remember when I signed those papers he claimed were for refinancing? I laughed bitterly. Turns out I signed over my rights to the property. God, I'm such an idiot. Grayson crossed the room and picked up one of the scattered documents. Who sent these? Anonymous package. But wait, there's more. I pulled out the glossy brochure. Introducing Ocean Vista Luxury Condominiums. Guess where they're planning to build? No. Grayson's eyes widened as he recognized the pristine coastline in the renderings. That's protected land. The habitat studies alone would normally take years, I know. But look who's heading the development. I pointed to the name at the bottom of the page. Sophie Anderson? Grayson whistled low. Isn't she... the reason my marriage is over? Yeah. My phone buzzed with a text from my daughter Rhea. Mom, Dad's acting weird. Can you pick me up from school early? I need to go get Rhea, I said, standing up. But first, I pulled up Logan's contact and hit dial, putting it on speaker. He answered on the third ring. Hey, Bridge, I'm kinda busy. Busy selling our home to your girlfriend's development company? Silence. Then, how did you save it? You know what that land means to me, to us, to Rhea. The tide pools where she learned to swim, the beach where we spent every summer. It's just property, Bridget, and it's done. The papers are signed. Through fraud, I spat. You really think I won't fight this? Fight what? It's perfectly legal. Maybe if you weren't so busy saving every endangered butterfly, you'd have read what you were signing. Grayson grabbed my arm as I started to shake. Logan, he said firmly, you might want to lawyer up. Gray? Should have known you'd be there. Listen, Bridget, take the money and move on. Sophie's plans are already in motion. Sophie's plans? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell me, does she know about the protected species surveys, the environmental impact reports, the coastal commission requirements? You wouldn't. Watch me. I ended the call and slumped into my chair. Grayson squeezed my shoulder. What's the play here? First, I pick up my daughter. Then, I gathered the documents, my lawyer brain already cataloging potential legal angles. Then we stop them, not just because he betrayed me, but because that land deserves better than being turned into another soulless development. The personal is political. Grayson nodded. You know this won't be easy. Nothing worth fighting for ever is. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, then paused. Gray, thank you for everything. Always. Now go get your girl. We'll strategize tomorrow. As I drove to Rhea's school, my mind raced through possibilities. Logan thought he could steamroll over 15 years of marriage, over protected habitats, over everything we'd built together. He thought wrong. Rhea was waiting at the curb, her long dark hair, so like mine, whipping in the coastal wind. She climbed in, looking worried. Mom, what's going on? I took a deep breath, remembering my promise to always be honest with her. Your father made some decisions that are going to change things for us, big things. But I want you to know that whatever happens, we're going to face it together. She studied my face, too perceptive for 14. Is this about the house? I heard him on the phone talking about selling it. My heart clenched. Yes, honey, but I'm going to fight for it. Not just the house, but everything it represents. The coastline, the wildlife, our memories. Good, she said firmly. That's our home, and those tide pools are important. My science teacher says they're like nurseries for the ocean. I smiled, pride mixing with determination. Exactly. Want to grab some ice cream and talk about it? Can we go to the beach after? One last time, maybe? Not the last time, I promised, turning toward our favorite ice cream shop. Not if I have anything to say about it. And I had plenty to say. Logan and Sophie had no idea what they'd started. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about standing up for what's right. And I was just getting started. Look what I found in Logan's desk drawer. I spread the letters across Grayson's kitchen table, my hands still shaking from the adrenaline of breaking into my old home office. Love letters, dozens of them, dating back months before he asked for the divorce. Grayson picked one up, his eyebrows rising as he scanned the page. Sophie certainly has a way with words. Our coastal paradise awaits. She was planning this from the start. There's more. I pulled out a folder of documents, preliminary development plans from 8 months ago, building permits filed under a shell company, environmental surveys that looked suspiciously rushed. Coffee? Grayson asked, already moving to his kitchen. I have a feeling we'll need it. Make it strong. I sorted through the papers, my lawyer's eye catching every suspicious detail. They've been laying the groundwork for this development long before Logan even mentioned divorce. The doorbell rang, and Grayson returned with Yvonne, our local environmental activist. Her eyes lit up at the sight of all the documents. "Sorry I'm late," she said, dropping her bag. "Had to finish up at the Marine Conservation Center. What have we got?" I handed her the development plans. "They're trying to fast-track everything. Look at the date on that environmental impact report." 2 weeks? Yvonne scoffed. "A proper survey takes months. This is a joke. A joke that could destroy protected habitat," Grayson added, setting down 3 steaming mugs. "The question is, how do we stop it?" My phone buzzed. A text from Rhea. "Dad's here with Sophie. They're talking about moving in together. I hate this." "First," I said, typing back a quick response, "we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Yvonne, what species are we looking at in those tide pools?" "Several endangered species, including the black abalone. Plus, it's a critical breeding ground for—" Another buzz interrupted her. This time it was an email from Morgan, the developer, announcing a town meeting about the exciting new Ocean Vista project. "Perfect timing," I smiled. "They're giving us a platform." "You're not thinking of going public already?" Grayson asked. "Why not? They think they've got this wrapped up. Let's show them otherwise." I stood up and started pacing. "Yvonne, can you get your conservation group to attend? We need numbers. Consider it done, and I can bring evidence of the actual wildlife impact." "Gray, we need legal precedents. Similar cases where development was stopped due to environmental concerns." He was already typing on his laptop. "On it. But Bridget, you should know. I did some digging on Sophie. This isn't her first rodeo. She's got a pattern of targeting valuable coastal properties through personal means." "You mean sleeping with the owners?" I laughed bitterly. "Wish I'd known that earlier." My phone rang. "Logan." I put it on speaker. "What the hell are you doing at my house, Bridget?" "Our house, Logan. The one you fraudulently sold. I was just collecting some interesting reading material." "Those letters are private property." "Like the tide pools you're planning to destroy?" "Don't worry. I left plenty of evidence for your lawyer. Speaking of which, see you at the town meeting next week?" "This is harassment," he sputtered. "Sophie says—" "Oh, Sophie says. Tell her to check her facts about the black abalone population. Her environmental survey seems to have missed quite a bit." I hung up, hands shaking again, but this time with excitement rather than anger. "He sounds nervous," Grayson observed. "He should be." I pulled up the town meeting details on my laptop. "Look at this. Morgan's listed as the primary presenter. Want to bet Sophie keeps her name off everything official? Smart money says she's pulling the strings but keeping her hands clean." Yvonne agreed. "Classic developer tactic." My phone buzzed again. "Rhea, can I come to your office after school tomorrow? I want to help." I smiled, typing back. "Absolutely. Bring your science notebook." "We need to move fast," I told my impromptu team. "The development plans show they want to break ground in 3 months." "That's impossible," Yvonne protested. "The permits alone." "Unless they've got someone on the inside," Grayson finished. "I'll start checking the permit office records." "And I'll rally the conservation community," Yvonne added, gathering her things. "We'll need every voice we can get." After they left, I stayed at Grayson's table, reading through Sophie's letters again. One line caught my eye. "Once the old house is gone, we'll build something magnificent, something worthy of our love." I pulled out my phone and texted Logan one last time. "Hope Sophie's love is worth it, because by the time I'm done, that's all you'll have left." Then I blocked his number and opened my laptop. Time to start drafting my presentation for the town meeting. Logan and Sophie thought they could erase 15 years of memories and destroy protected habitat for their coastal paradise. They were about to learn exactly what happens when you underestimate a mother's love. for her daughter, her home, and the environment she's sworn to protect. The town hall buzzed with nervous energy as people filed in. I stood at the back, watching Morgan adjust his microphone at the podium while Sophie whispered something in Logan's ear. They hadn't noticed me yet. "Mom!" Rhea appeared at my side, clutching her science notebook. "Ms. Peterson came with half the biology club." "Perfect." I squeezed her shoulder. "Ready to show everyone what's really at stake?" "Born ready." She grinned, reminding me so much of the little girl who used to spend hours cataloging tide pool creatures. Yvonne rushed over, waving a newspaper. "Have you seen this? Someone leaked the full development plans to the Coast Guardian." I took the paper, scanning the headline. "Protected Coastal Habitat. Threatened by luxury development, environmental regulations bypassed?" "Look at their faces," Rhea whispered. Across the room, Sophie was frantically showing her phone to Morgan, while Logan had gone pale. "Good. Let them squirm." The mayor called the meeting to order, and Morgan stepped up to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to discuss an exciting new opportunity for our community. Ocean Vista Luxury Condominiums will bring jobs, tax revenue, and modern housing options to our beloved coast." He clicked through glossy renderings of glass and steel buildings while I counted down the seconds. Right on cue, Yvonne's hand shot up. "Yes, the woman in the back." "Yvonne Harding, Marine Conservation Center. Could you explain how these plans account for the endangered black abalone population in those tide pools?" Morgan's smile flickered. "Our environmental survey? The 2-week rush job?" I stood up. "Bridget Walsh, environmental attorney. I'd love to hear how such a brief survey identified all protected species in the area." Sophie stepped forward. "We followed all proper procedures, like having the property transferred through fraudulent means." I pulled out copies of the letters. "Or planning this development months before the legal owner was even aware of the sale." The room erupted in murmurs. Logan started toward me, but Grayson blocked his path. "Order, please." The mayor banged his gavel. "Ms. Walsh, these are serious allegations." With serious evidence, I moved to the front, Rhea at my side. "My daughter would like to present her ongoing research on the tide pool ecosystem." Rhea stepped up, voice clear and strong. "I've been documenting the marine life in these tide pools for my advanced biology project. In the past year alone, I've identified 3 protected species that aren't mentioned in the developer's survey." She clicked through her own presentation. Detailed photographs, population counts, breeding cycle data. The audience leaned forward, captivated. "This isn't just about one piece of property," I added. "It's about protecting a critical habitat that belongs to all of us." "The sale is legal," Sophie snapped. "The development will proceed." "Really?" I projected the Coast Guardian article onto the screen. "Because according to this, several permit applications contain irregularities that warrant investigation." Morgan's face darkened. "Who leaked those documents?" "Does it matter? The truth was bound to come out." An elderly man stood up. "My grandchildren learn about marine biology in those tide pools. You can't just destroy them." More voices joined in, the mood in the room shifting rapidly. Sophie grabbed Logan's arm, whispering furiously. He shook her off, heading for the exit. "Wait!" Rhea called out. "Dad?" He stopped, turning slowly. "Rhea, this is complicated." "No, it's not." She held up her notebook. "You taught me to care about these creatures. Remember? You used to say they were special, that we were their guardians." The room fell silent. Logan looked at our daughter, then at me, then at Sophie's scowling face. "The meeting is adjourned," the mayor announced. "Clearly, this project requires further review." As people filed out, many stopped to talk to Rhea about her research. Yvonne was already organizing a protest group. Grayson collected contact information from potential witnesses about the permit irregularities. Sophie stormed past me, Morgan in tow. This isn't over. You're right, I replied calmly. It's just beginning. Later, over ice cream with Rhea, my phone exploded with notifications. The Coast Guardian article had gone viral, picked up by national environmental news sites. Mom? Rhea asked, picking at her sundae. Did you leak those documents? No, honey, I smiled, but I made sure the right people knew where to look. Do you think we'll save it? The house, the tide pools, everything? I thought about the determination I'd seen in the town hall, the way the community had rallied. I think we've got a fighting chance, and more importantly, we're fighting for what's right. Sophie looked pretty mad. She grinned. Sophie's about to learn that some things are more powerful than money or manipulation. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Like the truth, and tide pools, and daughters who know how to stand up for what they believe in. My phone buzzed, a text from Grayson. Local news wants to interview Rhea about her research. Ready to take this to the next level? I showed it to Rhea, who straightened her shoulders and nodded. Bring it on. Looking at her fierce expression, I felt a surge of pride. Logan and Sophie thought they could bulldoze their way through our lives. Instead, they'd helped create something stronger. A mother and daughter united in purpose, backed by a community ready to fight for its natural treasures. The protest signs bobbed like colorful buoys against the gray morning sky. I stood with Rhea at the edge of our old property, watching Sophie's black Mercedes pull up to the tide pools. Right on schedule, Grayson muttered, adjusting his camera. And look who she brought. Morgan stepped out first, followed by two men in suits I didn't recognize. Sophie emerged last, her designer boots crunching on the gravel as she approached our group. This is private property, she announced. You're trespassing. Actually, I held up a document. We have a temporary injunction allowing scientific observation of protected species. Would you like to see the court order? Her perfectly painted lips tightened. Morgan, handle this. Mrs. Walsh. Morgan stepped forward, all fake sympathy. Let's talk privately. I'm sure we can reach an arrangement. Like the arrangement you made with the permit office? Yvonne called out, her phone recording everything. The one under investigation? Morgan's face reddened. These allegations are groundless. Mom! Rhea tugged my sleeve, pointing toward the tide pools. They've got equipment. A truck was backing up to the shoreline, carrying what looked like survey tools and marking stakes. Stop! I moved forward. You can't bring equipment onto this site while the injunction is in place. Watch me, Sophie snapped, signaling the truck driver. Mom, the tide's coming in, Rhea said urgently. The abalone. Call it in, I told Grayson, who was already dialing the environmental protection hotline. Sophie stormed over to me, close enough that I could smell her expensive perfume. You think you're so clever, don't you? Using your daughter to play on people's emotions? Better than using my body to steal other women's husbands. Her hand shot out, but I caught her wrist before she could slap me. The camera clicks were almost deafening. Assault? I released her. Really? That'll look great in tomorrow's papers. You bitch, she hissed. Logan was right about you. So self-righteous, so sure you know what's best for everyone. Speaking of Logan, I looked around. Where is my ex-husband? Too ashamed to show his face. A commotion near the truck drew our attention. Rhea had positioned herself between the survey equipment and the tide pools. Young lady, Morgan called out, move aside. No. Her voice carried across the beach. These pools are part of a protected ecosystem. You can't mark them for construction without proper environmental review. Rhea! Logan's voice cut through the wind. He was jogging down the beach path. Get away from there. Why? She stood her ground. So you and your girlfriend can destroy everything we used to care about? The crowd had grown, phones recording the confrontation. Logan reached for Ria's arm, but she jerked away. Remember when you taught me about the sea stars? Her voice cracked. How they can regenerate their arms if they're hurt? You said nature always finds a way to heal itself if we just protect it long enough. Logan's face fell. Honey, it's not that simple. It is that simple. She pulled out her research notebook. Everything in here, all my observations, they're based on what you taught me. Was it all lies? Sophie appeared at Logan's side. We don't have time for this. Morgan, get the survey team. Nobody moves, a new voice commanded. Two uniformed environmental protection officers approached from the parking lot. We've received reports of unauthorized activity in a protected habitat zone. We have permits, Morgan started, which are currently under review. The officer cut him off. All activity stops until the investigation is complete. Sophie whirled on Logan. Do something. But Logan was staring at Ria, who stood firm beside the tide pools, tears streaming down her face. I can't, he said quietly. She's right. What? Sophie's voice rose to a shriek. I said she's right. Logan stepped back. This was a mistake. All of it. The officers began taking statements while the crowd pressed closer. Sophie grabbed her phone, speaking rapidly to someone as she stalked back to her car. Morgan followed, already damage controlling with the press. I moved to Ria's side, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. You okay? She nodded, wiping her eyes. Did you see Dad's face when I mentioned the sea stars? I did. You got through to him. Too little, too late, she muttered. Logan approached us hesitantly. Bridget, Ria, I'm sorry. Save it, I said, but not unkindly. Actions speak louder than words. If you're really sorry, prove it. He looked at the tide pools, then at the retreating developers, then back at us. What do you need? The truth, I said. About the permits, the planning, all of it. And your support in protecting this place. He nodded slowly. Sophie won't like that. Since when did Sophie's likes matter more than your daughter's future? The tide was coming in now, water filling the pools where Ria had spent so many happy hours learning about life's delicate balance. Sometimes, I realized, it takes the threat of losing something precious to remember why it was precious in the first place. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters and environmental activists. Ria clutched my hand as we pushed through, her other hand holding her research binder close to her chest. Ready? I asked her. She nodded, eyes fixed on the entrance where Sophie and Morgan were giving statements to the press. This frivolous lawsuit is nothing but a bitter ex-wife's attempt at revenge, Sophie was saying. The development will bring jobs and prosperity. And destroy critical wildlife habitat, Ria called out, her voice carrying across the steps. Cameras swiveled toward us. Ms. Walsh. A reporter thrust a microphone in my face. How do you respond to accusations that this is personally motivated? This case is about protecting endangered species and upholding environmental law, I replied. The fact that the developers obtained permits through questionable means only underscores the importance of proper oversight. Inside the courtroom, I spotted Logan sitting alone, away from Sophie's team. He caught my eye and gave a slight nod. His sworn statement about the fraudulent property transfer lay in my briefcase, a decision that had earned him Sophie's very public fury. Judge Martinez called the court to order. Morgan's lawyer spoke first, all polished confidence as he presented their environmental impact studies. Your Honor, he concluded, these development plans fully comply with all regulations. Objection, I stood. The defense would like to present evidence that these studies were deliberately rushed and incomplete. Proceed, I called our first witness. The court calls Ria Walsh. Sophie's face darkened as Ria took the stand. My daughter looked tiny behind the wooden panel, but her voice was steady as she took the oath. Rhea, please tell the court about your research at the tide pools. She opened her binder. For the past 2 years, I've been documenting the marine life as part of an advanced biology project. I have detailed records of 3 endangered species that weren't included in the developer's survey. And how often did you conduct these observations? Weekly, sometimes daily. I have photographs, population counts, and breeding cycle data. She held up her carefully labeled charts. The Black Abalone colony is one of the largest remaining in the state. Morgan's lawyer stood. While this is very impressive for a student project, we have professional surveys. Conducted in 2 weeks, I interrupted. Your Honor, I'd like to call our next witness, Dr. Harrison from the State Marine Biology Institute. The distinguished marine biologist testified about proper survey protocols and the impossibility of conducting thorough endangered species assessments in just 2 weeks. During the lunch break, Logan approached us in the hallway. Rhea, you were amazing up there. She gave him a small smile. Thanks, Dad. Logan! Sophie's sharp voice cut through the moment. What are you doing? Talking to my daughter, he replied firmly. You might want to rethink your position, Sophie. Those permits won't hold up. Is that a threat? She stepped closer. Remember what you have to lose. No. He looked at Rhea, then at me. I remember what I've already lost. Back in session, I presented Logan's statement about the fraudulent property transfer. Sophie's face went from angry to worried as I connected the dots between rushed permits, falsified documents, and environmental violations. Furthermore, I concluded, we have evidence that Ms. Anderson has a history of similar schemes in other coastal communities. Objection! Morgan's lawyer jumped up. Relevance? Overruled, Judge Martinez said. Continue, Ms. Walsh. I projected a timeline onto the courtroom screen. These documents show a pattern of targeting valuable coastal properties through personal relationships, followed by rushed development applications that bypass environmental protections. Sophie stood abruptly. This is character assassination. Sit down, Ms. Anderson, the judge warned. I called my final witness, a former business partner of Sophie's from another coastal development project. His testimony about their previous methods left Sophie white-faced and Morgan looking distinctly uncomfortable. Your Honor, I summarized, we've demonstrated clear violations of environmental law, fraudulent permit applications, and a deliberate attempt to circumvent protected species regulations. We ask for an immediate halt to all development plans and a full environmental review of the property. Judge Martinez took off her glasses. Given the evidence presented, I'm granting an immediate injunction against any development activity. Furthermore, I'm ordering a criminal investigation into the permit application process. The gallery erupted in whispers. Sophie stormed out, Morgan hurrying after her. Logan remained seated, looking relieved despite everything. Outside, Rhea hugged me tight. We did it. We did it. The tide pools are safe. Reporters swarmed around us, but Yvonne and her conservation group formed a protective circle, leading us down the courthouse steps. Mom, Rhea said as we reached the car, can we go to the beach? I want to check on the tide pools. I looked at my daughter, no longer the little girl who first fell in love with sea stars, but a young woman who'd found her voice fighting for what she believed in. Of course, I said. There still are tide pools to protect. As we drove toward the coast, I caught sight of Sophie and Morgan arguing intensely in the parking lot. Their carefully constructed plans were crumbling like sandcastles at high tide, and I couldn't find it in myself to feel sorry for them. Some victories taste like revenge, but this one tasted like justice. You need to see this, Grayson said, dropping a thick folder on my desk. Sophie's past is even darker than we thought. I opened the folder and spread out documents from 3 different coastal development projects. Each one followed the same pattern: a wealthy property owner, a whirlwind romance, and suddenly transferred deeds. How did you get these? Remember that tip from her former business partner? He pulled up a chair. Turns out he kept everything: meeting notes, emails, even recorded conversations. My phone buzzed. A text from Logan. Sophie's losing it, threatening to expose everything about everyone. Need to talk. Everything about everyone? Grayson read over my shoulder. That sounds ominous. Let's find out. I dialed Logan's number, putting it on speaker. Bridget? Logan's voice was hushed. Are you alone? I'm with Gray. What's going on? Sophie's at Morgan's office right now, trying to convince him to move forward despite the injunction. She's got dirt on half the city council, apparently. Of course she does, I muttered. What kind of dirt? I don't know exactly, but... He broke off. Hold on, someone's coming. We heard muffled voices, then Sophie's distinct tone. Who are you talking to? No one, Logan said. Just checking messages. Liar! Something crashed. You're warning her, aren't you? After everything I did for you? Sophie, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. I made you rich. I gave you an out from your boring life with your self-righteous wife, and this is how you repay me? The line went dead. Well, Grayson said after a moment, that was dramatic. My office door burst open and Rhea rushed in, waving her phone. Mom, have you seen the news? She pulled up a local news website. The headline read, Developer Morgan Walker distances himself from Ocean Vista project, cites irregularities in process. He's throwing her under the bus, Grayson whistled. My phone rang again, an unknown number. Bridget Walsh, a woman's voice said. This is Amanda from Morgan Walker's office. Mr. Walker would like to meet with you privately. I looked at Grayson, who nodded encouragingly. When and where? The Lighthouse Cafe in 1 hour. Come alone. The Lighthouse Cafe was nearly empty when I arrived. Morgan sat in a corner booth, looking considerably less polished than usual. Thank you for coming, he said as I sat down. I'm assuming you've seen the news? That you're abandoning Sophie? Yes. Question is, why now? He slid a USB drive across the table. Because of what's on here. Sophie's been recording everything, collecting leverage on anyone involved in her projects, including me. And now you're giving it to me? Why? Because she's out of control. This morning she tried to blackmail 3 council members into overturning the injunction. When that failed, she threatened to expose everyone. Including you? He nodded grimly. I've done things I'm not proud of, but this project? He gestured at the drive. Take it, use it, just keep my name out of it. Why should I trust you? Because unlike Sophie, I know when I'm beaten, and because that drive contains proof that she's done this before, multiple times. My phone buzzed with a text from Yvonne. Sophie just showed up at the tide pools. She's acting erratic. Police called. I have to go. I stood up. But Morgan, if you're playing me, I'll make sure you go down with her. Fair enough. I broke several speed limits getting to the beach. Police cars lined the parking lot, lights flashing. Rhea ran to meet me. Mom, Sophie was trying to destroy Dad's research equipment. She kept screaming about ruining everything. Logan stood with the officers, giving a statement. Sophie sat in the back of a police car, mascara streaking her face as she yelled through the window. You, she screamed when she saw me. This is all your fault. No, Sophie, I said calmly. This is what happens when you build your success on other people's destruction. At least I built something. What have you done except chase butterflies and save stupid tide pools? I taught my daughter integrity, I replied. Something you wouldn't understand. An officer approached me. Ma'am, we'll need statements from you and your daughter about the property dispute and Ms. Anderson's previous actions. Of course. I pulled out Morgan's USB drive, and I have something you might want to see. Later, watching the sunset from our beloved tide pools, Rhea asked, "Do you think Sophie will go to jail?" "That depends on what's on this drive and how many of her former victims come forward." I picked up a small shell, turning it over in my hand. But either way, she's lost her power over this place, over all of us. Dad says he's going to testify against her. Good. I wrapped an arm around my daughter. Sometimes the hardest thing is admitting you were wrong, but it's also the first step toward making things right. The tide was coming in, washing away footprints in the sand, but leaving the tide pools and their precious inhabitants untouched. Some things, I realized, were stronger than the forces trying to destroy them. The final hearing felt more like a public execution than a court proceeding. I sat between Grayson and Rhea as Sophie's entire empire crumbled in real time. "The evidence is overwhelming," Judge Martinez declared. "Multiple instances of fraud, blackmail, environmental violations, and conspiracy to commit property theft." Sophie's lawyer kept trying to object, but each attempt was weaker than the last. The USB drive had revealed everything: recorded conversations, offshore accounts, a decade of carefully orchestrated schemes. "Your Honor," I stood when called, "the prosecution would like to call one final witness." Sophie's head snapped up as Morgan walked into the courtroom, her face contorted with rage. "You traitor! Ms. Anderson, control yourself," the judge warned. Morgan took the stand, his testimony devastating in its detail. He outlined every step of their standard operation, identifying valuable coastal properties, researching the owner's vulnerabilities, and Sophie's careful seduction of targeted men. "And the environmental surveys?" I asked. "Falsified, all of them. We had a network of corrupt officials who would rush through the permits." Sophie launched to her feet. "He's lying. Logan, tell them he's lying." But Logan, sitting in the witness box, just shook his head. "No more lies, Sophie." She crumpled into her chair as Morgan continued describing their operation. When he finished, the courtroom was dead silent. Judge Martinez shuffled her papers. "Given the evidence presented, this court finds the defendant guilty on all counts." The sentencing was swift and severe: significant jail time, massive fines, and complete forfeiture of all assets gained through fraudulent means. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "all properties involved in these schemes will be returned to their rightful owners, or, where appropriate, designated as protected land." I felt Rhea squeeze my hand as Sophie was led away in handcuffs, still screaming about betrayal and revenge. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. "Ms. Walsh, how does it feel to have exposed one of the largest environmental fraud schemes in state history?" "This was never about personal victory," I replied, drawing Rhea close. "It was about protecting our natural heritage and standing up for what's right." Logan approached through the crowd. "Bridget, Rhea, can we talk?" We found a quiet corner away from the cameras. "I've been thinking," he said, running a hand through his graying hair. "The house, our house, it's yours if you want it back. The court's returning the deed." "Dad?" Rhea looked up hopefully. "I know I can't fix everything I broke," he continued, "but maybe this is a start." I studied his face, the familiar creases around his eyes, the unfamiliar humility in his expression. The house was never just about property, Logan. It was about trust, family, memories. "I know, and I destroyed that trust. But watching Rhea fight for those tide pools, seeing her stand up for what she believes in," he smiled sadly. "She got that from you." "From both of us," I corrected. "The old you, anyway, the one who taught her about sea stars." A commotion drew our attention. Morgan was leaving the courthouse, surrounded by federal agents. "They're seizing everything," Logan explained. All the development companies, the properties, the accounts. Sophie's empire is gone. Good, Rhea said firmly. The coast deserves better. Speaking of which, I pulled out some papers. Yvonne and I have been working on something, a proposal to turn the coastal property into a marine education center, complete with protected tide pools and a research facility. Logan's eyes widened. Really? Rhea's research would be part of the founding exhibition. I handed him the proposal. We could use someone with development experience on the board, someone who understands both sides of the issue now. He took the papers, hands trembling slightly. You'd trust me with that? Trust has to start somewhere, Rhea said, like those sea stars growing new arms. Later that evening, we stood on our old back deck, watching the sunset paint the tide pools in gold. Yvonne and Grayson were inside, going over plans for the education center. The sound of their excited discussion drifted out through the open windows. Mom? Rhea leaned on the railing. Are we really gonna live here again? Do you want to? She nodded, but different this time, better. Like a tide pool after a storm, I said, the same, but renewed. My phone buzzed. A news alert about Sophie's case. The story had gone national, sparking investigations into similar schemes across the country. Our little fight for one piece of coastline had turned into something much bigger. Ms. Peterson wants me to present my research at the State Science Symposium, Rhea announced. She says it's not just about marine biology anymore. It's about environmental justice. I watched my daughter's face glow with purpose and pride. Sometimes the biggest victories come from the smallest beginnings. A girl's love for tide pools, a mother's need to protect what matters, a community's willingness to stand up for its natural treasures. The tide was coming in, and with it, the promise of renewal. Not just for the coast we'd fought to protect, but for all of us who'd been transformed by the fight. The ribbon-cutting scissors felt heavy in my hands as I faced the crowd gathered outside the New Coast Marine Education Center. Camera flashes popped while Rhea stood beside me, beaming at the Walsh Tide Pool Research Laboratory sign above the entrance. Ready? I whispered. She nodded, placing her hands next to mine on the scissors. Together, we cut the blue ribbon as cheers erupted from the assembled crowd. And now, the mayor announced, I'd like to invite our founding director to say a few words. I stepped up to the podium, looking out at the familiar faces. Grayson and Yvonne sat in the front row, both grinning proudly. Logan stood at the back, more gray at his temples now, but looking more like his old self than he had in years. When my daughter first fell in love with these tide pools, I never imagined they would become the center of such transformation, I began. But sometimes the smallest ecosystems teach us the biggest lessons about resilience, adaptation, and renewal. Movement caught my eye. A group of elementary school students pressed their faces against the laboratory windows, eager to see inside. This center represents more than just conservation, I continued. It represents what happens when a community stands together to protect what matters. And now, I'd like to introduce the person who inspired it all, our lead youth researcher, Rhea Walsh. Rhea took the podium with confidence that made my heart swell. Hi, everyone. Before we go inside, I want to show you something. She held up a clear container filled with seawater. Inside, a small sea star moved slowly along the glass. This is Hope, she explained. We found her after a storm last month, missing 3 arms. But look, she pointed to the tiny new arms beginning to grow. She's healing, rebuilding, just like we are. The crowd applauded as we opened the doors. People flowed into the center, exploring the interactive exhibits Rhea had helped design, each featuring a different aspect of tide pool life. Logan approached as I watched Rhea leading a group of kids through her research display. She's amazing, he said softly. You did that. We all did, I corrected. Even you in the end. He nodded toward the development plans displayed on one wall. The original condo designs contrasted with the education center's environmentally conscious architecture. Sophie's appeal was denied, he said. She's serving her full sentence. I know. Morgan's testimony sealed it. Do you ever... He hesitated. Do you ever regret how public it all became? I watched Rhea demonstrate proper tide pool observation techniques to the entranced students. No, some things need to come to light, like tide pools at low tide. Yvonne rushed over, tablet in hand. Bridget, the State Environmental Board just approved our expansion proposal. We can add the butterfly sanctuary. I laughed, still chasing butterflies, just like Sophie said. Speaking of which, Grayson joined us. You might want to see this. He pulled up a news article on his phone. Coastal development fraud cases spark nationwide environmental protection reform. Your little revenge story started quite a movement, he said. It stopped being about revenge a long time ago, I replied. The day flew by in a blur of tours, demonstrations, and congratulations. As sunset approached, I found Rhea sitting by her favorite tide pool, the same one where she'd first learned about sea stars. Hey, scientist, I sat beside her. Proud of yourself? Yeah, she dipped her fingers in the water. But Mom, I've been thinking about something Sophie said at the trial, about building things. What about it? She thought she was building something important with those condos, but she was really just destroying stuff. We built something better, didn't we? Something that helps people understand why places like this matter. That's exactly what we did. And Dad? She glanced toward the center, where Logan was answering questions about the building's sustainable design features. He's different now, better. People can change, honey. Like your tide pools, they're never exactly the same from one day to the next, but they keep going, keep adapting. A splash drew our attention as Hope, the three-armed sea star, made her slow way across her pool. Above us, the Education Center's solar-powered lights came on, illuminating the path for evening tide pool walks. Ready for tomorrow's first official school group? I asked. Born ready. Rhea stood up, brushing sand from her jeans. Those kids won't know what hit them. By the time I'm done, they'll be total tide pool warriors. I laughed, following her inside where Grayson and Yvonne were setting up for tomorrow's opening day. Logan gave us a wave as he headed out, looking more at peace than I'd seen him in years. The center hummed with possibility. All our hard work transformed into something lasting, something meaningful. Not just a victory over those who would destroy beauty for profit, but a promise to future generations that some things are worth fighting for. Mom, Rhea called from the lab. Come look at this. Hope's growing another arm. I smiled, heading toward my daughter's voice. Some victories taste like revenge, but the best ones taste like hope.
The text message from Mom lit up my phone screen at exactly 2:47 a.m. Come home immediately. Your sister needs you. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas, my hands shaking with a familiar mixture of rage and resignation. My name is Adeline, and I've spent 25 years being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who always comes running when called. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight, I was celebrating landing my dream job, senior marketing director at one of New York's top agencies. Don't let her ruin this for you, Natasha said, sliding another glass of champagne across the table. We were the last ones left at the bar, our earlier celebration with colleagues having dwindled down to just us two. You've worked too hard for this. I took a long sip, letting the bubbles fizz against my tongue. You don't understand. Willow's probably having another crisis. Last time, it was because she couldn't decide which luxury apartment to rent with Dad's money. Before that, it was because her boyfriend dumped her for being too high maintenance. And your mother expects you to drop everything and fix it. Natasha's voice dripped with disapproval. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. I pulled up my mother's contact information, thumb hovering over the call button. Don't. Natasha grabbed my phone. At least wait until morning. But I knew better. The calls would keep coming, and Mom's voice would get increasingly desperate until I gave in. I dialed her number. Finally, Mom's voice crackled through the speaker. Where have you been? Your sister's company is downsizing, and she might lose her entry-level position. She's devastated. I pressed my fingers against my temple. Mom, it's the middle of the night. What do you expect me to do about it right now? You need to come home and help her find a new job. And while you're at it, she needs help with her apartment hunting. The lease is up next month, and you know how overwhelmed she gets with paperwork. Mom, I can't. I just accepted a position in New York. I start in 3 weeks. The silence on the other end was deafening. When she spoke again, her voice was ice cold. You're choosing a job over your family? It's not just a job, Mom. It's my career, my future. I've worked years for this opportunity. Your sister needs you here. Family comes first, Adeline. Always. She paused, and I could practically see her pursing her lips in disappointment. Besides, there are plenty of marketing jobs in Chicago. You can find something local. I caught Natasha's eye across the table. She was shaking her head vigorously. No, Mom. I'm not coming back. Not this time. Then you leave me no choice. Mum's voice hardened. Either you come home and help your sister, or you can consider yourself no longer part of this family. The words hit me like a physical blow. Are you seriously giving me an ultimatum? I'm being realistic. Your father and I have supported you through college, helped you with your first apartment, and this is how you repay us. By abandoning your sister when she needs you most. I wanted to scream, to remind her that I'd worked 3 jobs through college while Willow got a free ride, that I'd paid back every penny they'd helped me with, while my sister still lived off their credit cards at 22. Instead, I said quietly, I'll think about it, and hung up. Natasha reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You know what you have to do, right? I nodded slowly, a plan forming in my mind. I'm not going back, but I'm also not going to fight about it. What do you mean? I pulled out my laptop, the champagne forgotten. I'm booking a one-way ticket to New York for tomorrow. No arguments, no dramatic showdown. I'll leave them a letter explaining everything. Holy shit, Natasha whispered. You're really doing it. Watch me. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I booked the flight. 25 years of being the family doormat ends tonight. As I confirmed the purchase, my phone buzzed again. A text from Willow. Addie, please come home. I don't know what I'll do without you. For the first time in my life, I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new document and began typing. Dear Mom, Dad, and Willow. The words flowed easily now. Years of suppressed feelings finally finding their way onto the page. Tomorrow, they'd wake up to find me gone. Tomorrow, they'd finally have to face the consequences of their actions. Tomorrow, my new life would begin. But tonight, I had a letter to write. The sun hadn't risen yet when I finished the letter. My hands were trembling as I sealed the envelope, my entire life's frustrations condensed into 3 pages of brutal honesty. Read it, I told Natasha, who'd stayed with me through the night. Tell me if it's too harsh. She unfolded the pages and began reading aloud. Dear Mom, Dad, and Willow, by the time you read this, I'll be on my way to New York. I know this isn't how you wanted things to go, but I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep others warm. Mom, you've always said family comes first, but you never meant the whole family, just Willow. When I worked 3 jobs in college, you called me selfish for not having time to help her with her homework. When I got my first promotion, you dismissed it because Willow was having boy troubles that apparently needed my immediate attention. Dad, your silence has been just as damaging as Mom's demands. You watched me struggle, watched me sacrifice everything for Willow, and never once stood up for me. Your passive acceptance of this dynamic made you complicit. And Willow, I love you, but you're 22 years old. It's time to grow up. Your problems aren't emergencies that require everyone else to drop their lives. Your inability to handle basic adult responsibilities isn't cute anymore. It's exhausting. I'm not doing this to hurt any of you. I'm doing this because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. I've accepted the position in New York. I've signed a lease on an apartment. I'm starting fresh. Don't try to guilt me into coming back. Don't try to manipulate me with threats of cutting me off. I've been independent since I was 18. Nothing will change except that I'll finally be free to live my own life. If you want to have a relationship with me moving forward, it needs to be on equal terms. No more expectations that I'll drop everything for Willow. No more guilt trips. No more ultimatums. I hope someday you'll understand. Love, Adeline. Natasha looked up from the letter, her eyes wide. Holy shit, Adeline. This is perfect. I zipped up my suitcase, already packed with the essentials. Everything else would be shipped later. You don't think it's too much? It's exactly enough. She helped me carry my bags to her car. Are you sure you don't want me to drive you to the airport? No, I'll take an Uber. You've done more than enough staying up with me all night. The drive to my parents' house was surreal in the pre-dawn darkness. Natasha pulled up a block away, keeping the headlights off. I slipped out with the letter in hand. Our family home looked peaceful, almost mockingly so. The garden Mom meticulously maintained, the porch swing where Willow spent hours on her phone, Dad's perfectly washed car in the driveway, everything exactly as it had always been. I placed the letter on the kitchen counter where Mum would find it during her morning coffee routine. My hand lingered on the envelope for a moment before I forced myself to turn away. My phone vibrated. Another text from Willow. Addie? Why aren't you answering? Mum's really upset. I switched off my phone. The Uber was waiting when I returned to Natasha's car. She hugged me tight, whispering, You're doing the right thing. Call me when you land. At the airport, everything moved in a blur. Security, coffee, waiting at the gate. It wasn't until I was buckled into my seat that reality hit me full force. Would you like something to drink? The flight attendant's voice snapped me back to the present. Water, please. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. As the plane took off, I imagined Mum finding the letter. She'd be angry first, then hurt, then would immediately call Willow to comfort her. Dad would read it silently, perhaps feeling a twinge of guilt, but ultimately deferring to Mum's reaction. And Willow. I pictured her face crumpling as she realized her safety net was gone. Part of me ached for her, but a stronger part felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The city disappeared beneath the clouds, and with it, 25 years of being everyone's emotional support system. My phone stayed off in my bag, collecting missed calls and angry texts I wasn't ready to face. First time going to New York? The elderly woman next to me asked kindly. No, I replied, managing a small smile. But it is my first time going there to stay. As the sun finally broke over the horizon, painting the clouds in brilliant oranges and pinks, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Whatever happened next, whatever storm I'd just unleashed, at least I was finally steering my own ship. The letter was written. The die was cast. There was no going back now. New York hit me like a wall of sound and color. 3 weeks into my new life, and I still couldn't believe I'd actually done it. My tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn was a far cry from my spacious room back home, but every square inch was mine. Earned with my own money, decorated to my own taste, and blessedly free of family drama. Adeline? Miguel, my new boss, poked his head into my office. Got a minute? I quickly minimized my email. 37 unread messages from Mum, 12 from Dad, and 63 from Willow. Of course, Miguel's office had a view of Manhattan that still took my breath away. He gestured for me to sit. The Johnson campaign presentation was fantastic. The client loved your fresh perspective. Thank you, But, he held up a hand, you seem distracted. Everything okay? I hesitated. Miguel had been nothing but supportive since I'd started, but I kept my personal life private at work. Just adjusting to the city. And avoiding calls from Chicago? He smiled knowingly. Your phone's been buzzing through meetings all week. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who did the same thing 20 years ago. He leaned back in his chair. Left Puerto Rico against my family's wishes. They didn't speak to me for 2 years. How did you handle it? By remembering why I left. Speaking of which, he slid a file across his desk. We're pitching to Nike next week. Want to lead? My heart jumped. Are you serious? That's huge. You've earned it. He gestured at my phone, which was buzzing again. Deal with whatever that is. Clear your head. Back in my office, I finally turned on my phone's sound. Immediately, a voicemail from Willow played. Addie, please. Her voice was thick with tears. I lost my job. They said I missed too many deadlines. Mom's making me move back home, but I can't. I can't go backward like this. I need your help. Please call me back. I pressed delete, but my hand was shaking. Another voicemail started. Adeline Gibson. Mum's voice was sharp. Your sister is falling apart, and you're playing career woman in New York. How dare you abandon your family like this? That letter was cruel and selfish. Call me back immediately. Delete. My phone rang. Natasha's face popped up on screen. Finally, a call I wanted to take. Your sister just showed up at my apartment, she said without preamble. What? Why? Looking for you, obviously. She's a mess, Adeline. Mascara everywhere, wearing pajama pants in public. She got fired for real this time. I sank into my chair. Not my problem anymore. I know, but... Natasha hesitated. She said she's been having panic attacks. Maybe we were too harsh. I wrote that letter alone. You know what I mean. I encouraged you. Because you've watched me put my life on hold for them for years. I was almost shouting now. Did she mention why she got fired? The missed deadlines? The constant drama? No, but... Then let me tell you what happened. She spent more time on Instagram than working. She called in sick whenever she had a bad date. She expected everyone else to cover for her, just like she expected me to fix everything else in her life. A knock at my door made me jump. Miguel stood there, concern etched on his face. I lowered my voice. I have to go, Natasha. Just don't let her guilt you into giving her my address. What about your dad? She asked quickly. He's been asking about you too. Dad had 25 years to stand up for me. His guilt is not my responsibility either. I hung up and turned to Miguel. I'm sorry about that. He sat down across from me. You know, when I left home, I thought I was just running away. Took me years to realize I was actually running towards something better. Did your family ever understand? Eventually, but only after I stopped trying to make them understand. He tapped the Nike file. Sometimes the best revenge is success. My phone buzzed again. A text from Willow. Found out you're working at Marshall and Brooks. Guess family means nothing compared to a corner office, huh? I showed Miguel the message. She's trying to track me down. Want my advice? Focus on the Nike pitch. Pour everything into it. Success is the best boundary. It shows them you're thriving without them. I straightened my spine. You're right. Can I see the brief again? As I immersed myself in work, my phone kept buzzing with messages from home. But for the first time, the guilt was overshadowed by something stronger. Determination. Let them panic. Let them feel what it's like to handle their own problems. I had a presentation to nail. The Nike pitch was a success, but I barely had time to celebrate before Natasha's urgent call came through. Your mum showed up at my workplace today, she said, her voice tight with anxiety. She's getting desperate, Adeline. I was walking home from the subway, the city's evening buzz surrounding me. What did she want? What do you think? She's trying to guilt me into revealing your address. But that's not the worst part. Natasha paused. Willow's really spiraling. She totaled her car last week. I stopped walking. What? Was she hurt? No, just her pride. And Dad's credit card. She was texting while driving. But here's the thing. Your parents refused to buy her a new one. Seriously. I leaned against a building, processing this. Mom and Dad actually said no to Willow. Apparently, they can't afford it. Your dad's business isn't doing well, and with Willow moving back home... My phone beeped. Another incoming call. Mom. I have to go, Natasha. Thanks for letting me know. I answered Mom's call, bracing myself. Hello? Finally. Her voice was different, less commanding, more strained. Adeline, we need to talk about what you've done to this family. What I've done? I laughed incredulously. I made a career choice, Mom. I'm not the one who gave ultimatums. Your sister is falling apart. She's had to move back home, she can't find a job, and now she's having anxiety attacks. Is that what you wanted? I clutched my phone tighter. What I wanted was to live my own life without being Willow's permanent backup plan. She's your sister, and I'm your daughter. My voice echoed off the buildings, turning heads of passing strangers. But you never worried about my anxiety, did you? When I was working 3 jobs in college, when I had to cancel my own plans constantly to rescue Willow. A long silence followed. When Mum spoke again, her voice was quieter. We need you to come home, just for a little while. Help her get back on her feet. No, Adeline, please, your father's business is struggling. We can't support her like we used to. So now that you can't enable her anymore, you want me to step in? I started walking again, faster now. That's not happening, Mum. You're being selfish. No, I'm being successful. I just landed the biggest account of my career. I have my own place, my own life. For the first time, I'm putting myself first, and it's working. Another silence. Then, your father wants to speak with you. Dad's voice came through, hesitant as always. Princess, we miss you. My steps faltered. Dad hadn't called me princess since I was little. Dad, I know we messed up. I know I should have done more, said more. Then why didn't you? It was easier not to rock the boat, but seeing what it's done to you, to all of us. He sighed heavily. Willow needs to learn to stand on her own feet. We see that now, but she doesn't know how. That's not my responsibility. No, it's ours. We failed both of you in different ways. His voice cracked. Just don't cut us off completely. Please. I reached my apartment building, fumbling for my keys. I need time, Dad. Space to build my own life without feeling guilty about it. I understand. But Adeline. Yes? I'm proud of you. For being strong enough to leave. For succeeding. I should have said that years ago. Tears pricked at my eyes. Thanks, Dad. After hanging up, I sat on my building stoop, letting the city noise wash over me. My phone buzzed with a text from Willow. Everyone's mad at me, and it's all your fault. I hate you. Minutes later, another. I'm sorry, I don't hate you. I just don't know how to do this without you. I started typing, deleted it, started again. Finally, you'll figure it out. You're stronger than you think. Then I turned off my phone and went upstairs to my apartment. On my desk, the Nike contract sat waiting for my signature, my first major client as lead director. Next to it was a framed photo Natasha had taken the night before I left, my face glowing with determination and champagne. That girl in the photo had been terrified but did it anyway. She deserved my focus now, not the endless drama back home. My laptop pinged with an email from Miguel. Nike loves your ideas. Dinner tomorrow to celebrate. I smiled and replied, yes. Let Willow figure out her own life for once. Let Mom and Dad deal with the consequences of their choices. I had a celebration to plan. The knock on my apartment door came at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anyone, and my heart nearly stopped when I looked through the peephole. Willow stood there, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a designer suitcase that probably cost more than my rent. I know you're in there, she called out. Your light's on. I took a deep breath and opened the door. How did you find my address? I called every real estate agent in Brooklyn until I found one who remembered you. She pushed past me into the apartment. Nice place. Kind of small, though. What are you doing here, Willow? She dropped her suitcase with a thud. Mom and Dad are being impossible. They've frozen my credit cards. They're making me apply for jobs. And Dad actually suggested I take a barista position. Me, a barista! I crossed my arms. The horror. Don't be sarcastic. This is serious. She collapsed onto my couch. I thought maybe I could stay with you for a while. Just until I figure things out. Absolutely not. Come on, Addie, we're sisters. Yes, we are. Which is exactly why you can't stay here. I remained standing, maintaining distance. This is what you always do, Willow. You create chaos, then expect everyone else to fix it. That's not fair. No? What about my college graduation? You had a crisis because your boyfriend didn't like your dress, and Mom made me skip the ceremony to take you shopping. I was young then. You were 19. I worked my ass off for that degree, and I didn't even get to walk across the stage because you needed attention. Willow's lower lip trembled. Why are you being so mean? I'm not being mean, I'm being honest. I sat in the chair opposite her. Do you know what I was doing when Mom called that night, demanding I come home to help you? She shook her head. I was celebrating landing this job, the biggest opportunity of my career, and Mom expected me to give it up because you might have to face consequences for once in your life. I didn't ask her to do that. No, you never explicitly ask, Willow. You just cry and panic until someone fixes everything for you. She stood up abruptly, pacing my small living room. So, what am I supposed to do? Live with Mom and Dad forever? Work as a barista? You're supposed to grow up. Get a job, any job. Learn to manage your money. Stop expecting other people to solve your problems. Easy for you to say. You've always been the perfect one, the responsible one. Because I had to be. My voice rose. Do you think I wanted to work 3 jobs in college? To miss out on parties and dating because I was too busy being your backup plan? Willow stopped pacing, her face crumpling. I didn't realize. No, you didn't. Because you never had to think about anyone but yourself. My phone buzzed. A text from Miguel about tomorrow's meeting. The real world, my new life, calling. You need to leave, I said firmly. Go home, Willow. Face your problems head on for once. Mum was right, she whispered. You've changed. You're cold now. No, I'm just done being everyone's safety net. I walked to the door and opened it. You can stay in a hotel tonight if you want, but you're not staying here. She grabbed her suitcase, tears flowing freely now. I thought you loved me. I do love you. That's why I'm not enabling you anymore. At the door, she turned back. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? Then you'll learn from it and try again. That's what adults do. After she left, I sat on my couch, shaking. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Mom already. Willow had obviously called her. I texted Natasha. Willow just showed up at my apartment. She replied immediately. Holy shit, you okay? Yeah, sent her away. Feel like a monster. You're not a monster. You're teaching her the lesson your parents never did. I looked around my apartment, small but mine, paid for with my own money, decorated with my own taste. On my desk, the Nike contract sat next to a stack of other projects. My new life, built on my own terms. My phone rang again. Mom. This time, I turned it off completely. Tomorrow, I had a meeting to prepare for. Tomorrow, I would continue building my career, my independence, my future. And Willow? For the first time in her life, she would have to build her own future too. Maybe that was the greatest gift I could give her, even if she couldn't see it yet. 2 months after Willow's surprise visit, Natasha's weekly update call brought unexpected news. Your sister got a job, she said, the surprise evident in her voice. I nearly dropped my coffee. What kind of job? Receptionist at a dental office. And get this, she's been there for 3 weeks already. I sat down at my kitchen counter. You're kidding. Nope, your mom's been complaining to everyone that it's beneath Willow, but your sister's actually showing up every day. On time. Wow, I struggled to process this information. How do you know all this? I ran into her at Starbucks. She was on her lunch break, wearing scrubs and everything. She seemed different, more grounded. My phone beeped with another call. Miguel. I have to go, Natasha. Work call. Adeline, Miguel's voice was serious. Can you come to the office? Now? 20 minutes later, I sat in his office staring at him in disbelief. Paris? The Nike campaign was so successful, they want us to handle their European launch. 3 months in Paris leading the team. He leaned forward. It's a huge opportunity. When? Next week. I know it's sudden, but... My phone lit up with a text from Dad. Please call. Emergency. I ignored it. I'll do it. You sure? It's a big move, even temporarily. Another text from Dad. It's about my health. Need to talk. My hand froze over the phone. Miguel noticed. Everything okay? I don't know. Can I have an hour? Outside Miguel's office, I called Dad. Princess, his voice was weak. I had a heart attack yesterday. The world tilted sideways. What? Why didn't anyone call me sooner? Your mother wanted to, but I asked her to wait until I could talk to you myself. He paused for breath. It was a mild one. I'm okay. But there's more. What do you mean? The business. I've been struggling for months. The stress. Well, the doctors say I need to step back. Dad. Willow's been amazing, actually. He gave a weak laugh. She's been helping with paperwork, learning the business basics. She wants to try running things while I recover. I sat down hard on a nearby chair. Willow, running the business. She's changed, Adeline. This wake-up call. Losing you. It forced her to grow up. Another pause. Your mother's struggling to accept it, but Willow's really stepping up. My throat tightened. Do you need me to come home? No, Princess. That's why I waited to call. I didn't want you dropping everything and rushing back. We're managing. He coughed slightly. Willow insisted on handling things herself. Said it was time she took responsibility. I wiped away unexpected tears. Who are you, and what have you done with my family? He chuckled, then grew serious. We failed you for so long, Adeline, letting you carry everything, making you responsible for everyone else's happiness. I see that now. Dad, no, let me finish. You're leaving. It forced us all to change. Your mother's still adjusting, but she's trying. And Willow, he sounded proud. She's becoming the person she could have been all along if we hadn't babied her so much. Miguel appeared in the doorway, tapping his watch. Dad, I have to go. I'm in the middle of something at work. But I'll call tonight, okay? Of course. Go be successful. We're okay here. I walked back into Miguel's office, my mind spinning. Everything all right? He asked. My dad had a heart attack. Jesus. Look, forget Paris. Family comes first. No. I straightened up. My sister's handling it, and for the first time in my life, I actually believe she can. You sure? I thought about Willow and Scrubs, showing up to work every day. Willow learning the family business. Willow finally growing up. Yes, I'm sure. I picked up the Paris contract. Where do I sign? That night, I called Natasha to tell her about Paris. She squealed with excitement, then turned serious. Your mum called me today, about your dad. I know about the heart attack. No, not that. She wanted me to tell you she's sorry. Actually used those words. I sat in silence, letting that sink in. She said she's been seeing a therapist, working on her control issues. Natasha paused. People can change, Adeline. Yeah, I said softly, looking at my packed suitcase for Paris. I'm starting to believe that. My phone buzzed with a text from Willow. Heard about Paris. Congratulations. I mean it. For the first time since I'd left, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. Maybe we all needed to find our own paths to grow up. Paris was everything I'd dreamed of and more. But Dad's second heart attack brought me home after just 6 weeks. Standing outside his hospital room, I barely recognized my sister in her business attire, typing furiously on her laptop. The insurance company's being difficult, Willow said without looking up, but I've got it handled. When was the last time you slept? She finally met my eyes, dark circles evident under her makeup. Tuesday, maybe. I'm trying to run the business. deal with insurance, and coordinate with Dad's doctors. She's not coping well. Where is she? Cafeteria. She stress bakes now. The nurses are getting tired of her muffins. I sat beside her. How bad is it? The doctors say he needs bypass surgery. Triple bypass. Her voice cracked slightly. The business is struggling, and our insurance has a massive deductible. I've been going through the books, trying to figure something out. I can help with the medical bills, I offered. No. Willow's response was immediate. You've got your life in Paris. I've got this. Willow, I mean it, Addie. I'm not that helpless girl anymore. She showed me her laptop screen. Look, I've already restructured some of Dad's business loans. Found ways to cut costs without laying anyone off. I just need to figure out the insurance situation. Mom appeared with a basket of muffins, stopping short when she saw me. Adeline, you're here. Of course I'm here. She set down the muffins and hugged me awkwardly. I didn't think, with your important Paris job. It's Dad, I said simply. Tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry for everything. I know it's too late, but... Mum, Willow interrupted. The doctor's here. The surgeon explained the procedure, risks, and recovery time. Mom started crying again. Willow took notes on her laptop. I watched them both, feeling like I'd stepped into an alternate universe. The surgery's scheduled for tomorrow morning, the doctor concluded. Any questions? The insurance, Willow began, is approved, a familiar voice said behind us. We turned to see Miguel standing there, looking out of place in his designer suit. What are you doing here? I asked. Handling the insurance situation. He handed Willow some papers. The company's international health coverage extends to immediate family of employees on overseas assignments. I had them backdate it to when you accepted the Paris position. Willow scanned the documents, her hands shaking. This covers everything. The surgery, the recovery, all of it. Miguel, I started, but he held up his hand. The Paris team can handle things for a few more weeks. Take care of your family. After he left, Mom turned to me. He seems nice. He's my boss, Mom. A boss who flew from Paris to help with your father's insurance. She raised an eyebrow. People don't do that for just employees. Can we focus? Willow was back to her laptop. We need to prepare for Dad's recovery. He'll need care at home, physical therapy. I'll handle that, Mom said quietly. I've been talking to someone, a therapist, learning to be more present, less controlling. Mom's actually cooking now, Willow added. Real food, not just stress baking. And you? I asked Willow. How are you really doing with all this? She closed her laptop. Terrified, overwhelmed, but also capable. For the first time in my life, I know I can handle things, even if they're hard, even if I'm scared. Your sister's become quite the businesswoman, Mom said proudly. She reminds me of you sometimes. No, Willow shook her head. I'm not trying to be Adeline anymore. I'm trying to be me, just a better version. Dad was awake when we entered his room. My girls, he smiled weakly. All three of you together. The surgery's approved, Willow told him. Everything's arranged. Never doubted you for a minute, sweetheart. He turned to me. Paris treating you well? It can wait, I said. Family comes first. Mom flinched at her own words being turned around, but Dad just smiled. No, princess. Family comes first doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It means supporting each other while everyone grows. He squeezed my hand. Go back to Paris after the surgery. We've got this covered. Looking at Willow's quiet confidence, Mom's softened edges, and Dad's proud smile, I realized he was right. This wasn't the family I'd fled from months ago. We'd all changed, grown, learned to stand on our own and support each other in healthier ways. Okay, I agreed, but I'm staying until you're recovered from surgery. Deal, Willow said. Now, let's talk about your marketing expertise. The business could use some fresh ideas. We spent the night planning, talking, and actually listening to each other. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and sometimes that's enough. "Welcome to Gibson & Gibson Marketing," Willow greeted me at the door of Dad's renovated office building. "What do you think?" I stared at the modern glass entrance, the sleek new logo, and the bustling employees visible through the windows. "I barely recognize it. Wait until you see inside." She led me through, proudly pointing out changes. "We've doubled our client base since implementing your marketing strategies. Dad mostly works from home now, but he comes in for the big meetings. And Mum started her own catering business. Turns out all that stress baking had a silver lining." Willow laughed. "She's actually really good at it." In the main conference room, Dad sat at the head of the table, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. "There's my Paris director." "Not anymore," I corrected, hugging him. "New York's home base now. Paris is just a quarterly visit." "Speaking of New York," Willow pulled out a folder. "I have a proposal for you." "Oh?" "We want to open a New York branch. Dad and I talked about it and—" She took a deep breath. "We'd like you to run it." I blinked. "What?" "As an equal partner," Dad added, "your sister's ideas and your marketing expertise, you'd be unstoppable." "I already have a job." "Miguel thought you might say that." Willow smiled knowingly. "Miguel?" "Who do you think approached us about a potential merger?" Dad's eyes twinkled. "Marshall and Brooks's New York office merging with Gibson & Gibson. You'd head the combined operation." I sat down hard. "You've been talking to Miguel?" "For months." Willow sat beside me. "Look, I know our history is complicated, but we're not the same people anymore. I'm not asking you to save me or fix anything. I'm asking you to be my partner. Equal stakes, equal responsibility." "What about Mum? Won't she expect—" "Mum's too busy with her catering company to interfere." Dad chuckled, "though she does insist on providing food for all our client meetings." My phone buzzed. "Miguel, have they shown you the proposal yet?" "You knew about this?" I texted back. "Who do you think suggested it? You've outgrown being just an employee. Time to build something of your own." Willow watched me nervously. "I know it's a lot to consider." "Show me the numbers," I interrupted. Her face lit up as she pulled out spreadsheets and projections. We spent hours going through them, debating strategies, building on each other's ideas. This wasn't the old dynamic of me fixing her problems. This was true collaboration. "One condition," I said finally. "Name it." "We keep the offices separate. I run New York, you run Chicago. We coordinate but maintain independence." "Already planned for that." She pulled out another document. "Draft partnership agreement. Completely equal, completely independent." "When did you get so corporate?" "When I realized I was actually good at it." She smiled. "Turns out I just needed to find my own path instead of being pushed onto someone else's." Dad stood up. "This calls for celebration. Your mother's been stress baking all morning, waiting for an answer." "I haven't said yes yet." "Please," Willow scoffed. "I saw your face when you were going through those projections. You're in." She was right. The numbers were solid, the strategy sound, and the opportunity perfect. But more than that, the dynamic felt right, equal, healthy. Mum was waiting at their house with a spread that could feed an army. "Well, we're going to need a New York office warming party," I said. She hugged me, whispering, "I'm so proud of who you've become, who you've helped us all become." "Mom's getting sentimental," Willow Stage whispered. "Quick, someone give her something to bake." We all laughed, naturally, easily, without the underlying tension that had marked our family gatherings for so long. My phone buzzed again. "Miguel." "Dinner tonight to celebrate, as your former boss and hopefully something more." I smiled, typing back, "Yes to both." Looking around at my family, Dad healthy and semi-retired, Mom finding her own passion, Willow standing confidently on her own feet, I realized something profound. Sometimes running away isn't about escape. Sometimes it's about creating enough distance for everyone to grow into who they're meant to be. "To Gibson & Gibson," Dad raised his glass, and to the daughters who made it possible. To finding our own paths, Willow added. To healthy boundaries, Mom said softly. I raised my glass, looking at these familiar strangers who had become the family I always hoped we could be. To new beginnings. And this time, I truly meant it.
The phone buzzed against my desk, my mother's name flashing across the screen for the first time in 3 years. I let it ring, watching until the call ended, then waited for the inevitable voicemail notification. Her voice crackled through the speaker, strained and desperate in a way I'd never heard before. Isabel, we need to talk. It's about the family. Please call me back. I'm Isabel, the daughter who was never good enough, the one who couldn't measure up to perfect Makey, my older brother who could do no wrong. At least that's who I was until I walked away from it all 5 years ago. Everything okay? Ryder poked his head into my office, his usual confident smile fading as he noticed my expression. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, my mother called. I turned my phone screen toward him. First time since I left. Shit. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. What did she want? Family emergency, apparently. I played the voicemail again, watching Ryder's face as he listened. Funny how emergencies make people remember the children they wrote off. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from my father. Please call your mother, it's important. You going to call back? Ryder leaned against my desk, arms crossed. I stared at the message thread with my mother. Years of unread holiday messages and guilt-laden texts filling the screen. I should probably find out if someone's dying at least. With trembling fingers, I hit the call button. She answered on the first ring. Isabel? Oh, thank goodness. Her voice wavered. We've been trying to reach you. I noticed. What's wrong? It's complicated. We're in trouble, sweetheart. The business, the house, everything. Makey, She choked back a sob. We need help. Of course. My golden boy brother had finally screwed up badly enough that they needed the backup plan. Me. What did he do? He made some investments, bad ones. Used the business as collateral without telling your father. We're going to lose everything. I closed my eyes, remembering the day I'd tried to warn them about Makey's gambling. They'd dismissed me as jealous, bitter, trying to tarnish their perfect son's reputation. How much? $3 million. She paused. We know you're doing well with your company. The news articles, the awards. We've followed everything. Now you have. The words came out sharper than I intended. Funny, I don't remember you being interested in my success when I was starting out. Isabel, please. We're your family. Family? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Was I family when you told me I'd never amount to anything? When you called me the useless daughter at Aunt Sarah's wedding? When you chose Makey over me every single time? Silence stretched between us. Ryder placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. We were wrong, she whispered. I know that now, but please, we need you. No, Mother. You need my money. There's a difference. I took a deep breath. I'll think about it. That's all I can offer right now. I hung up before she could respond, dropping my head into my hands. You okay? Ryder asked quietly. They're broke. Makey gambled away the family business. I looked up at him. $3 million worth of mistakes, and they want me to clean it up. Are you going to? I stood up, walking to the window overlooking the city skyline. 5 years ago, I'd arrived here with nothing but determination and spite. Now I had everything they said I couldn't achieve. Success, respect, independence. You know what the worst part is? I turned back to Ryder. Part of me wants to help, just to prove I'm better than they were. But another part wants to let them crash and burn. He finished for me. Is that terrible? After what they put you through, I'd say it's human. My phone buzzed again. Makey this time. I declined the call. What are you going to do? Ryder asked. I thought about the scared little girl I used to be, always trying to prove herself worthy of love that should have been unconditional. About the woman I'd become, strong enough to build something from nothing. I'm going to show them exactly who their useless daughter turned out to be. I smiled, an idea forming. But not by writing a check. They need to see what real success looks like, and what it costs. Ryder grinned. Now that sounds like the Isabel I know. I picked up my phone, typing a quick message to my mother. I'll be home next week. We'll talk then. The response was immediate. Thank you, sweetheart. We knew we could count on you. They had no idea what was coming. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about making others suffer. It's about showing them exactly what they missed out on. The memory hit me as I packed my suitcase. 16-year-old me, standing in our family kitchen, clutching my acceptance letter to business school. Full scholarship? Makey had snatched the letter from my hands, scanning it with narrowed eyes. Must be some mistake, or they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel this year. Give it back. I'd reached for the letter, but he held it above his head, using his height advantage against me like always. Makey, stop teasing your sister, Mom had said, but she was smiling. She always smiled at his teasing. I'm not teasing. I'm being realistic. He dropped the letter onto the counter. Business school? Please. You can barely handle basic math. Remember when Dad tried to teach you about the family business? I did remember. I'd been 14, eager to learn, but every mistake was met with sighs and head shakes. Meanwhile, Makey got private lessons in the office, groomed to take over someday. My phone buzzed, jolting me back to the present. It was Daria. Tell me you're not seriously going back there, she said when I answered. I have to. I zipped up my suitcase. You didn't hear my mother's voice, Daria. They're desperate. Good. Let them be desperate. Remember your high school graduation? I winced. How could I forget? While Makey got a new car for his graduation, I got a lecture about being practical and considering community college instead of wasting time at business school. This isn't about revenge, I said, though part of me knew that was a lie. Bullshit. I was there, remember? I saw what they did to you. The memory shifted to another scene. My first business plan competition in college. I'd invited my family, reserved seats in the front row. They never showed up. Makey had a golf tournament that day. I found my old diary while packing. I told Daria, want to hear something funny? The day before I left for college, I overheard Mom and Dad talking about taking out a second mortgage to fund Makey's startup idea. The one that failed in 3 months? That's the one. $200,000 down the drain. I sat on my bed, fingering the worn pages of the diary. Meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs to buy my own textbooks. And now they want your money. Daria's voice dripped with disdain. Please tell me you're not giving it to them. No. I stood up, walking to my home office. On the wall hung my first business license, framed next to the newspaper article about my company's first major success. I'm going to give them something better. The truth. What does that mean? It means I'm going to show them exactly what their useless daughter built while they were busy enabling their perfect son. A text from Makey lit up my phone. Hey sis, heard you're coming home. We should talk before you see Mom and Dad. Is that him? Daria asked when I went quiet. Yeah, probably wants to convince me to bail them out before I find out exactly how bad things are. I typed back a quick, we'll see to Makey. Remember when he told you your first business would fail within a month? I laughed. Right before he asked to borrow $5,000 for his foolproof investment scheme. Did he ever pay that back? What do you think? My doorbell rang. Ryder, right on time for our pre-trip strategy session. Daria, I have to go. Ryder's here. Just be careful, okay? Don't let them pull you back into their games. I opened the door to find Ryder holding 2 coffee cups and a folder. Found something interesting, he said, handing me one of the coffees. Did some digging into your family's business finances? How bad is it? He spread documents across my dining table. Worse than they're telling you. Makey didn't just make bad investments. He embezzled, used company funds for personal expenses, took out loans using business assets as collateral without board approval. Criminal charges? Not yet, but it's heading that way if someone doesn't intervene. I picked up one of the documents, a loan application with a forged signature, my father's signature. They really think I'm going to swoop in and fix this, don't they? Ryder nodded. Question is, what are you actually going to do? I looked at my packed suitcase, then at the wall of achievements they'd never acknowledged. I'm going to make them face every mistake, every dismissal, every time they chose him over me. I squared my shoulders. And then I'm going to walk away and let them live with the consequences of their choices. That's my girl, Ryder grinned. Need backup? Always. I picked up my suitcase. Time to show them who their useless daughter really is. The familiar streets of my hometown felt smaller now, each turn bringing back memories I'd tried to forget. I pulled into the coffee shop where I'd worked during high school, now transformed into a sleek cafe. A perfect place for my first meeting with Mickey. He was already there, occupying the corner table like he owned it. Same confident posture, same expensive watch, but his eyes held a desperation I'd never seen before. Little sister. He stood to hug me. I stepped back. Let's skip the pretense, Mickey. What do you want? His smile faltered as we sat down. Can't I just want to see my sister? After 3 years of silence, try again. A waitress approached. I ordered black coffee. Mickey asked for some complicated specialty drink that wasn't even on the menu, then acted surprised when they couldn't make it. Things are complicated, he finally said, settling for regular coffee. Mom probably told you about the business. She told me you made some bad investments. Ryder told me the truth. His face darkened at Ryder's name. Your business partner should keep his nose out of family matters. Family matters? I laughed. Like when you forged Dad's signature on those loans? Coffee forgotten, Mickey leaned forward. Listen, I can explain everything. I had a plan. The investments were solid, but the market... Save it. I pulled out my phone, showing him the documentation Ryder had gathered. Casino receipts? Luxury car leases? That was your solid investment plan? I was networking, building relationships with clients. You wouldn't understand. You've always been so small-minded about these things. Small-minded. I felt my voice rising. I built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing while you were gambling away our parents' retirement. An elderly couple at the next table looked over. I lowered my voice. How much did you really lose, Mickey? He wouldn't meet my eyes. 4.2 million. Jesus Christ. I sat back, stunned. Does Dad know? Not everything. Look, I can fix this. I just need some capital to what? Double down? Hit the tables again? I have connections, he insisted. One good deal could turn everything around. But I need your help. Just a small loan, say $500,000. I'll pay you back double within 6 months. The same confident smile he'd always used to get his way. It probably still worked on our parents. No. His smile vanished. What? I said no. I'm not giving you money. Come on, Isabel, we're family. You can't just... Family? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Where was family when I needed help with college? When I was working 60-hour weeks to start my business? When I invited you all to my company's launch party and you didn't show because you had a golf game? That's not fair. I was networking, building relationships. I grabbed my purse. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow, you're going to tell Mom and Dad everything. Every loan, every forged signature, every penny you stole, or I will. He grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. You wouldn't dare. I yanked free. Try me. I'm not that scared little girl anymore, Mickey. You can't bully me into submission. You think you're so much better than me now? He stood towering over me like he used to. With your fancy company and your business partner, I made one mistake. One mistake? You destroyed our family's legacy. The business Dad spent 30 years building. Gone because you couldn't admit you had a problem. People were definitely staring now. Mickey's face had turned red. You know what? His voice was low, dangerous. Maybe if Mom and Dad had given you the business instead of me, none of this would have happened. Is that what you want to hear? That you were right all along? What I want, I said quietly, is for you to face what you've done. No more manipulation, no more lies. My phone buzzed, a text from Ryder. All set for tomorrow's meeting with your parents. Documents ready. Tomorrow at noon, I told Mickey. Dad's office. Either you tell them or I will. He called after me as I walked away, but I didn't turn back. Outside, I leaned against my car, hands shaking as I dialed Ryder's number. How'd it go? He asked. 4.2 million, Ryder. He lost $4.2 million. Jesus, that's more than we thought. He wanted me to loan him $500,000 more, said he could double it in 6 months. Ryder was quiet for a moment. You okay? I watched through the window as Mickey ordered another coffee, his hands shaking as he reached for his wallet. Yeah, I said. For the first time in my life, I think I am. Dad's office still smelled like leather and coffee, but the usual bustle of employees was gone. Empty desks stretched across the floor, personal items already cleared out. My heels clicked against the hardwood as I made my way to the conference room. Isabel, Mom rushed to hug me. I kept my arms at my sides. Oh, sweetheart, thank you for coming. Dad stood by the window, looking older than I remembered. He turned, managing a weak smile. You look well. Success does that. I set my briefcase on the table. Where's Makey? Running late, Mom said quickly. Traffic, you know how it is. No. I checked my watch. He's not coming, is he? The silence answered my question. I pulled out my laptop and the documents Ryder had prepared. Well then, I guess I'll start. Start what? Dad asked, finally taking a seat. Isabel, if this is about the loan, this isn't about a loan. I connected my laptop to the projector. This is about the truth. The first slide appeared, a breakdown of the company's finances over the past 3 years. Red numbers dominated the screen. What is this? Mom's voice trembled. This is what your perfect son did to the family business. I clicked through the slides. Unauthorized loans, forged signatures, casino debts paid with company funds. Dad's face went pale. That's not possible. Makey wouldn't. Here's his signature on a loan for $800,000. Click. Here's your forged signature on another for $1.2 million. Click. And here's the casino's record of his losses over the past 18 months. Mom started crying. Dad just stared at the screen. The total damage, I continued, is $4.2 million. Not the $3 million he told you about, and that's not counting the legal implications of the fraud. Why are you doing this? Mom whispered. We asked for help, not this. Because you need to see what your favoritism created. I turned off the projector. You gave him everything, the business, the trust fund, your unconditional support, and he repaid you by destroying it all. We made mistakes, Dad admitted quietly. With both of you. No. I shook my head. You made choices. Every time you praised his mediocrity while ignoring my achievements. Every time you funded his failures while I worked my way through college. Those weren't mistakes. They were choices. The door opened. Makey stood there, tie askew, eyes bloodshot. Sorry I'm late, he mumbled. Just in time, I said. I was just showing Mom and Dad your creative accounting. He slumped into a chair. I was going to tell them. When? After you got another loan to gamble away? Makey, Dad's voice was barely audible. Is this true? All of it? Makey nodded, staring at the table. The investors are pulling out, I continued. The bank is calling in the loans. You have maybe 2 weeks before they force a liquidation. There must be something we can do, Mom pleaded. Isabel, your company is not your safety net. I closed my laptop. I'm not here to save the business. Then why are you here? Makey demanded. To gloat? I'm here because you need to understand something. I stood up, looking at each of them. Success isn't about who has the most natural talent, or who gets the most support, or who your parents believe in more. It's about what you do with what you have. I pulled out one final document, my company's latest valuation report. My company is worth $30 million. I built it while you were all telling me I'd never amount to anything, and I did it without stealing, lying, or gambling away other people's futures. So you're just going to let us lose everything? Makey asked. Your own family? No, I'm going to let you face the consequences of your actions. All of you. I gathered my things. But I will make you an offer. They leaned forward eagerly. I'll help you negotiate with the bank, help you salvage what's left of your reputation, but only if you agree to my terms. Anything, Mom said quickly. Makey goes to addiction counseling. Dad, you step down and let a professional management team handle the restructuring. And Mom, I met her eyes. You acknowledge, publicly, at the next family gathering, exactly how you treated me all these years. The room was silent except for Mom's quiet sobs. Those are my terms. Take them or leave them. And if we don't, Makey asked, then you can explain to the board and the police where all that money went. I walked to the door, pausing with my hand on the handle. You have until tomorrow to decide. Call me when you're ready to face reality. The sound of my heels echoed through the empty office as I walked away, leaving them to sit with their choices. I was having coffee at my old high school hangout when Milena walked in. 5 years hadn't changed her much. Same perfectly styled hair, same designer handbag. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Isabel, oh my God. She rushed over, arms outstretched. I heard you were back in town. Milena. I didn't stand for the hug. Let me guess. Makey told you? Her smile faltered slightly. Actually, yes. We've been seeing each other. Of course they had. My brother's ex-best friend's girlfriend, now his current flame. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sit. I gestured to the empty chair. I'm sure you have plenty to tell me. She settled in, fidgeting with her coffee cup. Look, about Makey, save it. I already know everything. No, you don't. She glanced around before leaning closer. I'm the one who sent the anonymous tip to the board about the missing money. That got my attention. What? I saw the receipts, Isabel. The casino visits, the wire transfers. He was spiraling and nobody would listen to me. She pulled out her phone, showing me texts from Makey. He promised he'd stop, but he didn't. He said he had a system, that he just needed one big win to fix everything. She wiped away a tear. I tried to help him, but he just kept taking more and more. The waitress brought more coffee. I studied Milena's face, looking for any sign of deception. Why are you telling me this? Because I remember how they treated you, how we all treated you. She reached for my hand. I pulled back. I was there when your mom told everyone not to attend your business launch, said it would only encourage your delusions of grandeur. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We've discussed your terms. Please come to the house tonight. They're meeting tonight, aren't they? Milena asked. To discuss your offer? I looked up sharply. How do you know about that? Makey called me after your meeting. He was upset. She hesitated. He's not planning to accept your terms, Isabel. He thinks he can find another way. Another way to what? Steal more money? He mentioned something about offshore accounts, private investors. She pulled out a USB drive. That's why I brought you these. Bank statements, emails, everything I could find. I stared at the drive. Why now, Milena? Why help me after all these years? Because I was wrong. We all were. She stood up, gathering her things. And because someone needs to stop him before he hurts more people. As she turned to leave, I called after her. Does he know you're here? No, and he can't know. Please. Her eyes were pleading. Just be careful tonight. He's not the same person we grew up with. After she left, I plugged the drive into my laptop. Dozens of files appeared. Correspondence with shady investment firms, screenshots of gambling debts, and something that made my blood run cold. A draft email to my company's board of directors, full of fabricated allegations about my business practices. I called Ryder immediately. He's planning to sabotage my company, I said when he answered, trying to destroy my reputation before I can expose him. Jesus. Ryder paused. Want me to come over there? No, but have our lawyers ready, and call security. Make sure Makey can't access our building. Already done. What about tonight? I looked at the time. 2 hours until the family meeting. I'm going, but first, I need to make a stop. The bank manager was expecting me. I'd called ahead. Ms. Walker? He smiled, shaking my hand. I understand you want to discuss your brother's accounts. Actually, I placed Milena's USB drive on his desk. I want to discuss fraud prevention. An hour later, I pulled up to my parents' house. Makey's car was already there, along with Dad's. Through the window, I could see them in the living room, heads bent together in discussion. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Milena. Whatever happens tonight, remember you're not the one who needs to be ashamed. I grabbed my briefcase and walked to the door. Before I could knock, it swung open. Mom stood there, eyes red from crying. Isabel, she said softly, please come in. We need to talk. Behind her, Makey sat in Dad's armchair, a familiar smirk playing on his lips. He thought he had a plan. He thought he could outmaneuver me one last time. He had no idea what was coming. I stepped inside, ready for the final confrontation. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought in the places we once called home. Before we start, I said, setting my briefcase on the coffee table, I had an interesting conversation with the bank today. Makey's smirk faltered slightly. We've discussed your terms, Mom interrupted, perched nervously on the edge of the sofa. And we think, no, let's hear what the bank had to say. Makey leaned forward, trying to maintain his composure. I'm sure it was fascinating. Oh, it was. I pulled out several documents, especially the part about the second set of books you've been keeping. The offshore accounts, the shell companies. Dad's head snapped up. What? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I spread the papers across the table. Or did you think you could blackmail me into silence with those fake allegations you were planning to send to my board? Mom gasped. Makey's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. Really? Should we call Milena? I'm sure she'd be happy to explain. He stood up so quickly his chair tipped over. You talked to Milena? She showed me everything, Makey. The gambling debts, the fraudulent accounts, the plans to frame me for embezzlement if I didn't help you cover it up. You're lying. Am I? I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. Makey's voice discussing offshore transfers with someone named Marcus. Dad put his head in his hands. Mom started crying again. It's not what it sounds like, Makey insisted. I was trying to save the company. By stealing from it, by planning to destroy my reputation. I turned to our parents. Still think he deserves another chance? We could. Mom looked desperately between us. We could find a way to fix this, as a family. There's nothing to fix. I stood up. The bank has frozen all accounts pending investigation. The board has been notified and the police. I checked my watch. Should be here any minute. You called the police? Mom shrieked. On your own brother? No, Mom. The bank called the police on a criminal who happened to be my brother. Makey lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You can't do this to me. Let go of me. My voice was steel. Or what? You'll call your precious Ryder? Have him save you again? Dad finally stood up. Makey, let her go. Don't you see what she's doing? Makey's grip tightened. She's destroying this family. No. I yanked free. You did that all by yourself. Blue lights flashed outside. Mom ran to the window. Please, she begged. Isabel, stop this. We can work something out. Like you worked it out when I needed you? When I begged for support, for acknowledgement, for just one moment of the attention you showered on him? We made mistakes. No, I cut her off. You made choices, and now you're all going to live with them. The doorbell rang. 2 police officers stood outside. Mr. Makey Walker? One called through the door. Makey looked wildly around the room like a trapped animal. Dad, please. Dad just shook his head, tears in his eyes. I'll destroy you, Makey hissed at me. Everything you've built will still be standing long after you're gone. I opened the door. Officers, he's in here. Everything happened quickly after that. The handcuffs, the rights being read, Mom's hysterical crying, Dad's silent tears. As they led Makey out, he turned back one last time. You think this makes you better than me? No, I met his eyes. I always was better than you. They just couldn't see it. After the police car pulled away, I gathered my things. What happens now? Dad asked quietly. Now? The company goes into receivership. You'll probably lose the house, your reputation. I shrugged. Well, that's already gone. And you? Mom's voice was small. Will you help us? I paused at the door. My offer stands. Professional management team. Public acknowledgement of how you treated me. And Makey gets help. Real help. In prison or out. That's it? After everything we've done for you? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Everything you've done for me? You mean like telling me I was worthless? Like choosing him over me at every turn? Like making me feel like I didn't deserve to exist in this family? They stood there, finally seeing me. Really seeing me, for the first time. I'll have my lawyers contact you tomorrow about the restructuring. I opened the door. Goodbye, Mom, Dad. Isabel, Dad called after me. I'm sorry, for everything. I didn't turn around. I know, but sorry isn't enough anymore. The door closed behind me with a final click, leaving them alone with the wreckage of their choices. 3 days after Makey's arrest, Mom called a family meeting at Aunt Sarah's house. The same house where, years ago, she'd first called me the useless daughter. Fitting, really. Ryder pulled up to the curb. You sure you want to do this? No. I smoothed my dress. But it's time. The living room was packed with relatives. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all the people who'd witnessed my humiliation over the years. They fell silent as I walked in. Isabel. Aunt Sarah hugged me awkwardly. We've all heard, the news about how my brother committed fraud, or about how I turned him in. More uncomfortable silence. Mom stood up from her spot on the couch. I called everyone here because, her voice cracked, because we owe you an apology, Isabel. All of us. Mom, no, let me finish. She squared her shoulders. For years, we treated you like you were less than Meki. We dismissed your dreams, belittled your achievements, made you feel unwelcome in your own family. Uncle Robert shifted in his chair. Hallie, maybe this isn't the place. This is exactly the place, Dad cut in. This is where it started, isn't it? At that dinner when we all laughed at Isabel's business plans? I remembered that night. I'd presented my first business concept to the family, hoping for support. Instead, they'd turned it into a joke, passing around my carefully prepared proposal like it was a comedy script. We were wrong, Mom continued. So terribly wrong. While we were praising Mickey's failures, you were building something extraordinary, and we were too blind to see it. Too proud, Aunt Sarah corrected. We were too proud to admit we'd backed the wrong horse. I'm not here for apologies, I said, my voice steady. I'm here to set things straight. I pulled out my phone, pulling up the family group chat. Remember this thread from 3 years ago, when I invited everyone to my company's launch party? I started scrolling. 14 people said they were too busy. 8 didn't bother responding. Only Daria showed up. We didn't think, Uncle Robert started. That it would succeed? I finished. Or that it mattered. Well, let me show you what you missed. I connected my phone to the TV, starting a slideshow. Pictures of my company's growth. News articles about our success. Awards ceremonies they'd never attended. While you were all celebrating Maki's latest venture, I was building this. While you were covering up his mistakes, I was creating jobs. Real jobs for real people. The photos continued. My first office, the team growing, the new headquarters. Last week, before all this happened, we closed a deal worth $15 million. I let that sink in. That's 5 times what Maki lost, what your perfect son gambled away. Mom was crying openly now. Dad couldn't meet my eyes. But this isn't about money, I continued. It's about respect, about family, about choosing to see only what you wanted to see instead of what was really there. What do you want from us? Aunt Sarah asked quietly. Nothing. Not anymore. I turned off the TV. I'm not here for revenge or redemption. I'm here to show you exactly what you missed out on, what you threw away because you couldn't see past your own prejudices. Please, Mom stepped forward. Give us a chance to make it right. Make it right? I laughed. You can't make this right. You can't undo years of damage with one public apology. Then why are you here? Uncle Robert demanded. Because someone needs to say it. I looked around the room. Your golden boy is a fraud. Your perfect son is a criminal. And your useless daughter, she's the only one who can help you pick up the pieces. The silence was deafening. My lawyers will handle the restructuring of the company. Dad, you'll step down next week. A professional team will take over. I gathered my things. And Maki will get the help he needs. In prison. And us? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. What about us? I paused at the door, looking back at my family. Really looking at them. The proud aunts and uncles who'd dismissed me. The cousins who'd followed Maki's lead in mocking my dreams. The parents who'd failed to see what was right in front of them. That's up to you. I opened the door. But know this. I'm done trying to prove myself to people who never wanted to see me succeed in the first place. Ryder was waiting outside. How'd it go? Exactly as expected. I got into the car. Take me home. As we drove away, I watched my family through the rearview mirror, still gathered in Aunt Sarah's living room, finally facing the truth about who they'd chosen to believe in, and who they'd chosen to ignore. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about walking away and letting people live with the consequences of their choices. The knock on my office door came just as I was finishing a conference call. Daria poked her head in. Someone here to see you, she said, her expression unreadable. It's Meki. I looked up sharply. Here? How did he? Released this morning. She stepped aside, revealing my brother in the doorway. He looked different, thinner. The designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a button-down shirt, the arrogance gone from his stance. "Hey, sis." His voice was quiet. "Got a minute?" I nodded to Daria. She left, closing the door behind her. "Nice office," Mickey said, looking around. "Better than Dad's old one." "What do you want?" He sat down, hands clasped in his lap. "I've been in therapy, real therapy, not just the court-mandated stuff." "Good for you." I learned something interesting. He met my eyes. About why I did what I did. Why I couldn't stand to see you succeed. "Mickey, please, let me finish." He pulled out a folded paper from his pocket. "I wrote this in therapy. Must have rewritten it 50 times. I took the letter but didn't open it. "I was jealous," he continued. "Not of your success, of your strength. You built something real, something lasting. All I did was pretend to be what everyone wanted me to be." "You had every advantage," I said. "Every opportunity." "I know. And I wasted them all trying to live up to an image I couldn't maintain." He gestured to the letter. "Read it, please." I unfolded the paper. His handwriting was different, less flashy, more honest somehow. "Dear Isabel," I read aloud. "I'm sorry. Not just for the money or the lies or the attempted blackmail. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel small to make myself feel big. For every dream I mocked because I was afraid you'd achieve it. For every moment I stole from you because I couldn't stand in my own spotlight." My voice cracked. I stopped reading. "Keep going," he said softly. "You were always the strong one," I continued reading. "The brave one. While I was taking shortcuts and looking for easy wins, you were doing the real work, building something meaningful. I didn't hate you for being less than me. I hated you for being more than I could ever be." I set the letter down. "Why are you really here, Mickey?" "Because I owe you more than an apology." He pulled out another document. "This is my resignation from the family business. Complete divestment of my shares. I'm signing everything over to the restructuring team." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." He placed the document on my desk. "It's part of making amends. Real amends, not just words." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Is he there?" "They don't know you're here, do they?" He shook his head. "I needed to do this on my own. No safety net, no family pressure, just me. Finally being honest." I studied his face, looking for any trace of the old manipulation. Found none. "What will you do now?" "Start over. Entry-level job at a friend's company, small apartment, learning to live with who I am, not who everyone wanted me to be." He stood up. "I don't expect forgiveness, Isabel. I just needed you to know that I see you now. Really see you." As he turned to leave, I called out, "Mickey?" He paused. "That friend's company, they need any investment advice?" A small, genuine smile, so different from his old smirk. "No, I'm working in their mailroom, learning what real work feels like." After he left, Ryder came in. "Everything okay?" I handed him Mickey's letter and resignation. "What do you think?" He read them carefully. "Seems genuine. Prison changes people. Or maybe it just shows them who they really are." I picked up my phone, typing a response to Mom. "He's gone, but he's okay." "You think he'll make it?" Ryder asked. I looked out my office window at Mickey, walking down the street, head high but shoulders relaxed. No pretense, no performance. Just a man finally learning to stand on his own. "Yeah," I said. "I think he will." My phone buzzed again. A text from Mickey. "Thank you. Not for the money you didn't give me, but for the wake-up call I needed. You were always the best of us." I smiled, typing back, "Prove it. Not to me, to yourself." Sometimes redemption doesn't come in grand gestures or public apologies. Sometimes it comes in quiet moments of truth, in the courage to start over, in the strength to face who you really are. And sometimes, just sometimes, it comes in letting go of who you were supposed to become who you were meant to be all along.
The text message glared at me from my phone screen. "Sis, I need you. It's life or death this time. I mean it. My name is Sloan, and I hadn't spoken to my brother Tom in 3 years. Not since that Christmas dinner when everything fell apart. The last image I had of him was his disappointed face as I walked out of our family home, vowing never to return." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Vanessa. "Have you heard about Tom?" she asked when I picked up. "Just got his text. What's going on?" "It's all over Facebook. He's in the hospital. Kidney failure. They're saying he needs a transplant. My stomach dropped. That's impossible. He's only 34. Your mom's been trying to reach you. I glanced at my blocked calls list. 15 missed calls from Mom. I can't deal with this right now, I said, pacing my apartment. I have a deadline for tomorrow's story about Sloan. Vanessa cut me off. This isn't another corrupt politician or corporate scandal you can investigate from a safe distance. This is your brother. Half-brother, I corrected automatically, immediately hating myself for it. You need to call your mom back. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the window. The city lights flickered behind my image, reminding me of camera flashes from my first big story. The one that made my father disown me. My phone rang again. This time it was Addison, my editor. Whatever story you're working on, drop it, she said before I could speak. Family emergency trumps deadline. How did you? Small town news travels fast. Go see your brother. I sat down at my desk, pulling up Tom's social media. His latest post was from 3 days ago. Starting dialysis today, keeping the faith. The comments section overflowed with prayers and well wishes. My hands shook as I unblocked my mom's number. She answered on the first ring. Sloan, baby, is that you? Hi, Mom. My voice cracked. Thank God, we've been trying to reach you. Your brother. I know. Facebook. He needs you, honey. We all do. The doctors say family members are the best chance for a match. I closed my eyes, remembering the last time Tom needed me. I was 17. He was 23. He'd gotten into trouble with gambling debts. I'd given him my college savings, made him promise to change. 2 months later, he lost it all again. I can't just drop everything and come home, I said. Your father's different now, Mom said, reading my mind as usual. After your article about the mayor's corruption, he understood why you did it. He's proud of you, even if he won't say it. I laughed bitterly. Right. That's why he told every newspaper in town that his daughter was dead to him. People change, Sloan. Sometimes it takes a crisis to... My phone beeped with another incoming call. Tom. I have to go, Mom. I'll think about it. I switched calls. Tom. Hey, troublemaker. His voice was weak, but he still managed that annoying big brother tone. Guess you heard about my grand finale. Don't talk like that. Why not? You're the one who always said I was dramatic. He coughed. Listen, I know things are messed up between us, but I need my little sister right now, not the hotshot journalist, just my sister. I can't deal with Dad, I said. Then deal with me. I'm the one dying here. The word hit me like a slap. Dying. My brother was dying. The doctors say family members are the best match, he continued. Mom's not compatible. Dad's too old. You're my best shot, Sloan. I looked at the framed article on my wall. My first big expose. The story that made my career and destroyed my family. My father's face in the courthouse. Betrayal in his eyes as I testified against his friend, the mayor. When's the testing? I heard myself ask. Tomorrow morning. Hospital's running special sessions for family members. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up flight schedules. Text me the details. I'll be there. Sloan? His voice softened. Thank you. After hanging up, I called Addison back. I need a week off. Take 2, she said. And Sloan? Remember what I taught you about investigating stories. Follow the facts, not the emotions. No. The other thing. Sometimes the biggest stories are the ones closest to home. I booked the first flight out, then sat in the dark, watching the city lights. Tomorrow I'd face my family again. Tomorrow I'd walk back into the web of lies and manipulation I'd spent 3 years escaping. But tonight, I had a story to write. Not about corrupt politicians or corporate scandals. About a sister and a brother, and the thin line between love and resentment. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from my father. Coming home at last. Some things never change. I turned off my phone and started packing. The familiar crunch of gravel under my rental car's tires sent chills down my spine. Our family's Victorian-style house loomed ahead, exactly as I remembered it. Pristine white paint, perfectly manicured lawn, and those suffocating rose bushes Mom always obsessed over. I hadn't even turned off the engine when Mom burst through the front door, practically running down the steps. She looked older, grayer, but her arms felt the same when she wrapped them around me through the car window. "You're here," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You're really here. Had to come, Mom." I tried to smile, but my face felt stiff. "Where's Tom?" "At the hospital for dialysis. Your father's with him." She stepped back, wiping her eyes. "Come inside. You must be exhausted from the flight." The house smelled like cinnamon and coffee, Mom's stress baking scent. Fresh cookies sat on the kitchen counter, beside a stack of medical papers and insurance forms. "Coffee?" Mom asked, already reaching for my old favorite mug. "Actually, I need to use Dad's office, check some emails." Her hand froze mid-reach. "Sloan, just emails, Mom. I'm not investigating anything." She sighed. "The office is exactly as you remember it. Your father never changes anything." I climbed the familiar stairs to the second floor, passing family photos I'd rather forget. There I was at graduation, before everything fell apart. Tom at his college graduation, Dad's proud arm around his shoulders. The last family Christmas photo, taken months before I exposed the mayor's scandal. Dad's office door was unlocked. The heavy mahogany desk dominated the room, its surface meticulously organized. I ran my fingers along the edge, remembering how many times I'd stood here as a child, receiving lectures about family loyalty and proper behavior. The desk drawer stuck slightly. It always had. Inside, everything was arranged with military precision: pens, paper clips, stamps. But something caught my eye, a corner of yellowed paper peeking out from beneath a stack of files. "What are you doing?" I jumped. Dad stood in the doorway, his frame blocking the light from the hallway. He'd lost weight, but his presence still filled the room. "Checking emails," I said, closing the drawer quickly. "Hospital stuff." He stepped into the room, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood floor. 3 years, Sloan. 3 years without a word. You told me not to come back. And when did you ever listen to what I told you? A hint of a smile played at his lips, but his eyes remained cold. Your brother's waiting at the hospital, ready to be tested. That's why I'm here. Is it? He moved to his desk, straightening papers that were already straight. Not working on another story. Dad, don't. Because the last time I came home, I discovered your best friend was embezzling millions from the city. My voice echoed in the small room. You knew about it and did nothing. I protected this family. You protected your reputation. Enough. Mom appeared in the doorway, her face flushed. Tom needs us, all of us. Can we please just focus on that? Dad straightened his tie, a nervous habit I'd forgotten about. The car's outside. We should get to the hospital. The drive was silent. I sat in the back seat like a teenager, watching familiar streets roll by. The hospital loomed ahead, a concrete monster swallowing people whole. Tom's room was on the 4th floor. He looked small in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from his arms. His face lit up when he saw me. "Still wearing that ratty leather jacket, I see," he said weakly. I touched the sleeve self-consciously. "Still making bad jokes, I see. Some things never change." He tried to sit up, wincing. "Did you get the testing paperwork?" Mom handed me a thick envelope. "The nurse will be here soon." I started reading through the forms, my journalist's eye catching on details. Blood type requirements, genetic markers, compatibility factors. Something wasn't adding up. "Dad," I said slowly, "why aren't you being tested? Age isn't a complete disqualifier for kidney donation." The room went silent. Mom suddenly became very interested in adjusting Tom's pillows. "Medical reasons," Dad said shortly. "Private ones." "What medical reasons?" "Drop it, Sloan." His voice carried that familiar warning tone, but I couldn't drop it. Something about his reaction, Mom's nervous movements, the way Tom wouldn't meet my eyes. My reporter's instincts were screaming. A nurse entered, breaking the tension. Ready for testing, Miss O'Connor? Yes, I said, still watching my father. Very ready. As I followed the nurse out, I glanced back. Dad was at the window, his reflection fractured in the glass. Mom was holding Tom's hand, whispering something I couldn't hear. That yellowed paper in Dad's drawer nagged at my mind. Whatever it was, whatever he was hiding, I would find out. Some things never change, indeed. After the blood tests, I waited until everyone was asleep. The house creaked familiarly as I crept down the hallway to Dad's office, flashlight in hand. My heart pounded as I eased open the desk drawer. The yellowed paper was still there, buried beneath tax forms and insurance documents. As I pulled it out, my phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. How's it going? Can't talk. Investigating. I typed back. Of course you are. Be careful. I unfolded the paper carefully. It was a letter, dated 35 years ago. The first line made my blood run cold. Dear Kirk, I know the baby isn't yours. My hands shook as I read further. The letter was from someone named Maria, talking about an arrangement, money changing hands, a baby boy named Talon. The final paragraph hit like a punch to the gut. I know you and Selena will give him a good home. Please just let me see him sometimes, as we agreed. Find what you're looking for? I spun around. Mom stood in the doorway, her silhouette ghostly in her white nightgown. Mom, what is this? I held up the letter. Who's Talon? She closed the door behind her, hands trembling as she switched on the desk lamp. You were always too clever for your own good, just like your father. Don't deflect. This letter is Tom adopted. Sit down, Sloane. She sank into Dad's leather chair. It's more complicated than that. Then explain it to me. She took a shaky breath. Your father, he had an affair. Before you were born. With Maria, Tom's biological mother. Mom nodded. When she got pregnant, your father paid her to disappear. We took the baby, changed his name to Thomas. No one ever knew. Except you? I couldn't have children then. We'd been trying for years. Her voice cracked. Your father said it was the perfect solution. His mistake could become our miracle. And then you had me. 2 years later, the doctors called it a medical miracle. She laughed bitterly. Your father was so proud. His real child, he called you, though he never said it in front of Tom. My mind raced. Does Tom know? No one knows except your father, Maria, and me. She reached for my hand. And now you. I pulled away. That's why Dad won't get tested. He's not Tom's biological father. Sloane, please. Your father will destroy me if he knows I told you. Destroy you? Like he destroyed Maria. Where is she now? Mom looked away. I don't know. The agreement was that she'd never contact us. Agreement? I spat the word. You mean the payoff? We gave her son a good life. You stole her baby. The door opened. Tom stood there, pale as the hospital sheets he'd left behind. Who stole whose baby? The letter crumpled in my fist. Mom went white. Tom, you should be resting, she stammered. I came down for water, his eyes fixed on the paper in my hand. What's going on? The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. I looked at Mom, but she was frozen, staring at her hands. Your name is Talon, I said finally. And Dad isn't your biological father. Tom, Talon, gripped the doorframe. What? I held out the letter. He read it slowly, his face changing from confusion to shock to something darker. All this time, he whispered. All those stories about how I was your miracle baby. You were, Mom pleaded. You are. Stop lying. He slammed his hand against the wall. My whole life is a lie. Even my name. Keep your voice down, Mom hissed. Your father. He's not my father. Tom's legs buckled. I rushed to catch him as he sagged against the wall. You need to be in bed, I said, supporting his weight. You're still weak from dialysis. How can you be so calm? He demanded. Did you know about this? I just found out. Tonight. He laughed, a horrible broken sound. The great investigative journalist, Finally found a story worth telling. Tom, no. That's not my name. He pushed away from me, stumbling toward the stairs. I need to get out of here. Wait, Mom called, but he was already halfway down the stairs. I heard the front door slam, then the sound of his car starting. We have to go after him, Mom said, reaching for her keys. No, I blocked her path. You've done enough. I'll find him. Sloan. And when I get back, you're going to tell me everything. About Maria, about the money, about all of it. No more lies. I grabbed my jacket and car keys, my mind already mapping the places he might go. Behind me, Mom called out one last time. What are you going to do? I turned back, seeing her clearly for the first time. Not as my mother, but as a woman who'd lived with this secret for 35 years. I'm going to find my brother, I said. And then, I'm going to find his mother. I found Tom at the old baseball field, where he used to coach Little League. He sat in the dugout, the letter crumpled in his hands, staring at nothing. You shouldn't be out here, I said, sitting beside him. It's freezing. 35 years, he muttered. 35 years of lies. I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app. Mom told me some things about Maria. Don't. He closed his eyes. Don't make this into one of your stories. This isn't about a story. This is about finding your mother. I have a mother, his voice cracked. The one who just admitted to buying me. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. Where is he? I ignored it. Want to know what I found out already? Tom stayed silent, but his hands stopped shaking. Dad paid Maria $50,000 in 1988. That's almost $120,000 in today's money. I scrolled through my notes. He set up a trust fund in her name, but the payments stopped in 1995. How do you know all this? I have sources at the bank. Called in some favors while driving around looking for you. He laughed hollowly. Always the investigator. There's more. I hesitated. The last known address for Maria was in Seattle. She worked as a nurse there until 2010. Tom's head snapped up. She was a nurse? Still is, according to my sources. Moved to Portland a few years ago. Stop. He stood up suddenly, swaying. I can't process this. Tom, that's not my name. He hurled the crumpled letter across the dugout. God, I don't even know who I am anymore. My phone buzzed again. Dad, your mother is hysterical. Bring him home now. You're my brother, I said firmly. That hasn't changed, hasn't it? He turned to face me. Half-brother, remember. That's what you always said. Guess you were more right than you knew. Before I could respond, headlights swept across the dugout. Dad's Mercedes pulled up to the field. Great, Tom muttered. The man who bought me is here. Dad strode across the field, his expensive shoes inappropriate for the muddy grass. Get in the car, both of you, now. Or what? Tom challenged. You'll buy another son? Dad's face went white. Your mother told you. No, your daughter did. The one you're actually related to. I raised you. You owned me. Tom's voice echoed across the empty field. How much was I worth, Dad? 50,000. Was that the going rate for a baby in 1988? You're sick, Dad said, his voice controlled. You need to be in the hospital. I need the truth. Tom stepped forward, stumbling. I caught his arm. Where is she? Where's my real mother? I am your real father, Dad growled. I changed your diapers, taught you to ride a bike, paid for your college. Paid for everything, didn't you? That's your solution to everything. Throw money at it until it goes away. Dad's face hardened. Get in the car, both of you. We'll discuss this at home. No, I stepped between them. We're discussing it now. Why did the payments to Maria stop in 95? Dad's expression flickered. You've been investigating. It's what I do. Remember, the thing you disowned me for. She broke the agreement, Dad said finally. Tried to contact Tom, sent birthday cards, photos. Tom swayed again, harder this time. His face was pale, sweating despite the cold. Tom, I grabbed his arm. Hey, look at me. I don't. His eyes rolled back. Don't feel. He collapsed. Dad and I caught him before he hit the ground. Call an ambulance, Dad shouted, already pulling out his phone. In the chaos that followed, ambulance sirens, emergency room lights, doctors rushing past, I slipped away to make a call. Addison, I need a favor, a big one. At midnight? My editor sounded wide awake despite the hour. Must be good. I need you to find someone. A nurse in Portland named Maria. She'll be in her 50s now. This about your brother? How did you— Small town, remember. Words getting around about some drama at the hospital today. I watched through the ER window as doctors worked on Tom. Dad paced the hallway, making calls. Mom sat in a plastic chair, looking small and lost. This isn't for a story, I said. It's for my brother. Half-brother. No. I pressed my hand against the cold window glass. Just my brother. Send me what you have. I'll make some calls. I hung up as a doctor approached Dad. Their conversation was intense, with Dad shaking his head repeatedly. What's wrong? I asked when the doctor left. Dad's face was ashen. The kidney damage. It's genetic. Something called polycystic kidney disease. Runs in families. In Maria's family, I said slowly. We need to find her, Dad admitted. She might be a match. I pulled out my phone, showing him Addison's text. Found her. You're not going to believe where she is. Where? Working as a transplant coordinator at this hospital. The hospital cafeteria was empty at 3 a.m., except for a woman sitting alone, staring into a coffee cup. Her dark hair was streaked with gray, her scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. When she looked up, I saw Tom's eyes staring back at me. Maria, she didn't seem surprised. I wondered when you'd find me, Sloan. You know who I am. I've read all your articles. She gestured to the chair across from her. I've kept track of both my children. I sat down, my reporter's instincts warring with my personal feelings. Both. Talon and you. She smiled sadly. Though he goes by Tom now. How long have you been working here? 6 months. She twisted her coffee cup. When I saw his name come up on the transplant list, I requested a transfer. Your father doesn't know. Did you know about his condition? The polycystic kidney disease. It runs in my family. I've been tested. I'm a match. Her hands shook slightly. But I couldn't just walk into his room and announce myself. The agreement with your father. Screw the agreement. I slapped the table, making her jump. He's dying. I know. Tears filled her eyes. Why do you think I'm here? I've been watching him, checking his charts, making sure he gets the best care. From the shadows, like some kind of ghost. What choice did I have? She pulled out her wallet, removed a worn photo. This is the last picture I have of him. His 5th birthday. I took it from far away, at the park. I recognized the playground. Tom on the swings, Mom pushing him, Dad watching proudly. They gave him a good life, Maria said softly. They bought him, like property. Your father gave me a choice, money to start over, or a legal battle I couldn't afford to fight. She met my eyes. I was 22, single, working minimum wage. He was a powerful man with expensive lawyers. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. How's Tom? Stable, I typed back. Found his birth mother, working on a story. Don't you dare, Vanessa replied immediately. This isn't news, it's family. I looked at Maria, really looked at her. The same stubborn chin as Tom, the same expressive eyes. 35 years of watching her son grow up from a distance. He knows about you, I said. She went still. How? I found the letter, in Dad's office. Oh God. She pressed her hands to her mouth. How did he? He collapsed. That's why he's here now. I leaned forward. He needs you, Maria. Not as a secret donor, but as his mother. Your father will never allow it. My father doesn't get to decide anymore. I stood up. Come with me. Where? To see your son. We took the elevator to the 4th floor. Outside Tom's room, Dad was arguing with a doctor. We can't wait for the donor list, Dad was saying. There has to be another option. There is. I stepped forward, Maria beside me. Meet your son's donor. Dad turned, his face draining of color. Maria. Hello, Kirk. Her voice was steady, but I saw her hands trembling. It's been a while. You can't be here. The agreement is void. I cut in. Unless you want me to write about how you illegally bought a baby 35 years ago. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Mom appeared in the doorway, took in the scene. Maria, oh my God. Selena. Maria nodded stiffly. How's our son? Mom flinched at the hour. He's awake, she said quietly. Asking for Sloan. I took Maria's arm. Perfect timing. Wait. Dad stepped forward. You can't just… Watch me. I pushed past him, leading Maria into the room. Tom lay in the hospital bed, looking pale but alert. His eyes widened when he saw us. Tom, I said softly, there's someone you need to meet. Maria stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Hello, Talon. Tom stared at her for a long moment. Your mother, your birth mother. She touched her face. You have my eyes. And my kidney disease, apparently. She laughed through her tears. Yes, that too. I'm so sorry. Don't be. He reached for her hand. Just tell me everything, please. I backed toward the door, giving them privacy. In the hallway, Dad grabbed my arm. You've gone too far this time. I yanked free. No, Dad. You did the 35 years ago. I'm just fixing your mistake. By destroying this family. By saving it. I pulled out my phone, showed him the draft email to my editor. Your choice. Let them have this moment, or I send this story to every newspaper in the country. He stared at the screen, then at me. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. You really would do it, wouldn't you? In a heartbeat. I glanced back at Tom and Maria, deep in conversation. But I don't think I'll have to. You're really going through with this? Vanessa asked, watching me type furiously on my laptop. 3 days had passed since Maria's revelation, and I hadn't left the hospital except to shower and change clothes. The story needs to be told, I said, not looking up. Dad's been making calls, trying to bury it. 2 reporters already backed off after anonymous threats. But it's your family. Exactly. I turned the laptop to show her the draft. Read it. She scanned the first paragraph. In 1988, a prominent local businessman paid $50,000 to purchase a baby boy. Today, that same man sits on the hospital board that may determine whether his illegally adopted son receives a life-saving kidney transplant. Sloan. Vanessa pushed the laptop away. This will destroy your father. He destroyed himself. I hit save. Besides, I'm not publishing it yet. It's insurance. A knock at the door made us both jump. Addison walked in, holding a thick folder. Got what you asked for, she said, dropping it on the bed. Financial records, property transfers, everything from 1988 to now. Your father's been busy covering his tracks. I opened the folder. How bad? Bad enough to end his career, maybe earn him some jail time. She sat on the edge of the bed. You sure about this? Before I could answer, Tom appeared in the doorway, leaning on an IV stand. He looked better than he had in days. Family meeting in my room, he said. Dad's lawyer is here. I grabbed my laptop and the folder. This should be interesting. Tom's hospital room was crowded. Dad and his lawyer stood by the window. Mom sat in the corner chair, and Maria perched on the edge of Tom's bed. The tension was thick enough to cut with a scalpel. Before we begin, the lawyer said, pulling out some papers, I need everyone to sign these non-disclosure agreements. I laughed. Not happening. Sloan, Dad warned. No. I opened my laptop. Either we do this honestly, or my story goes live in every major newspaper by tonight. The lawyer frowned. Miss O'Connor, that would be inadvisable. What's inadvisable, I cut in, is thinking you can silence the truth with legal documents. The truth. Dad stepped forward. You want the truth? I saved that boy's life. His mother couldn't provide for him. I could have tried. Maria stood up. You never gave me the chance. You took money instead. Because you threatened to destroy me if I didn't. Stop it. Tom's voice cracked through the room. All of you, just stop. Everyone fell silent. Tom struggled to sit up straighter. I've made a decision, he said. About the transplant. Dad moved closer. Son, don't call me that. Tom held up a hand. Maria's a match. She's willing to donate, but I'll only accept on one condition. Anything, Dad said quickly. The truth comes out, all of it. Tom looked at me. Sloane publishes her story. That's impossible, the lawyer interjected. The legal ramifications are exactly what you deserve, I said. Opening the folder Addison brought. Wire transfers, fake adoption papers, bribes to officials. Want me to continue? Dad's face had gone gray. You'd destroy everything I built. Your own father. You're not my father, Tom said quietly. You're the man who bought me. There's a difference. Mom stood up suddenly. I have something to add to your story, Sloane. Selena, don't, Dad pleaded. There were others, she said, her voice shaking. Other babies, other mothers. I saw the papers, years ago. Kirk didn't just buy Tom. He ran a network. The room went deadly quiet. Even the lawyer looked shocked. How many? I whispered, fingers hovering over my keyboard. At least 6 that I know of. Mom wouldn't look at Dad. All between 1985 and 1990. You knew. Dad's voice was barely audible. All this time, I knew everything. She finally met his eyes. Every lie, every payoff, every threatened mother. I kept quiet to protect our family, but this is protecting no one. I was already typing, my journalist's mind racing. I'll need names, dates. You'll have them, Mom said. All of them. The lawyer was gathering his papers, backing toward the door. I think we need to reconvene when everyone is calmer. Sit down, Tom and I said, simultaneously. He sat. Here's what's going to happen, I said, still typing. Dad, you're going to make a full confession. Names, dates, everything. Mom and Maria will corroborate. In return, I'll emphasize in the story that you're cooperating fully with authorities. And if I refuse, then I publish what I have now, and you face the consequences alone. Dad looked around the room, at Mom's determined face, at Maria's quiet strength, at Tom's unwavering stare, at my fingers poised over the keyboard. When did you become so ruthless? He asked softly. I met his eyes. I learned from the best. He sat heavily in the chair by Tom's bed. Where do you want me to start? The beginning, Tom said. Start with the truth. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, our front lawn was crowded with news vans and reporters. I watched from Tom's hospital room as Dad was led out of his office in handcuffs, the scene playing live on the small TV mounted on the wall. Turn it off, Tom said, but he couldn't look away either. The reporter's voice filled the room. Local businessman arrested in connection with illegal adoption ring. Sources say at least 12 families were affected. Maria muted the TV. The other mothers are coming forward. 3 have already contacted the police. Good, I said, checking my phone. Addison says the story's gone national. Every major network wants interviews. With Dad? Tom asked. With us, all of us. I looked at Maria. Especially you. She shook her head. I can't. The transplant surgery is tomorrow. We need to focus on that. The door opened and Mom walked in, looking exhausted. She'd aged years in the past week. They're searching the house, she said, sinking into a chair. Found more documents in the safe. Names, birth certificates. God, Kirk, what were you thinking? He wasn't thinking about the families, Maria said quietly. Only about the money. A nurse came in to check Tom's vitals. Looking good for tomorrow, she said cheerfully, ignoring the tension in the room. Both donor and recipient are in excellent condition. Thanks, Sarah. Tom managed a smile. After she left, Mom turned to Maria. Are you sure about this? The donation? After everything? He's my son. Maria took Tom's hand. I've missed 35 years. I won't miss this chance to help him. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad's number, but sent by his lawyer. Your father wants to see you both. Before tomorrow's surgery. No, Tom said immediately. He's at the county jail, I read. Says he needs to tell us something important. More lies? Maybe we should hear him out, Mom suggested, for closure, if nothing else. 2 hours later, Tom and I sat across from Dad in the jail's visiting room. He wore an orange jumpsuit instead of his usual tailored suit, but his posture was still rigid, controlled. You look terrible, he said to Tom. Kidney failure will do that. Dad flinched. The other families, they're being notified? By the police, I said, though most of them probably saw it on the news. Good. He straightened his shoulders. There's something else you need to know about the money. The bribes? I pulled out my notebook. No, the trust funds. He leaned forward. I set one up for each child, including you, Tom. The original $50,000, plus interest. It's been gathering dust for 35 years. Tom's face hardened. Blood money. It's yours. Both the fund and my share of the company. I signed everything over this morning. I don't want it. Then give it to charity, set up a foundation for the other families. I don't care. Dad's composure cracked slightly. I need to know I did one thing right. One thing right? Tom's voice rose. You stole babies from their mothers. You destroyed families. I gave them better lives. You played God. Tom stood up, swaying slightly. I grabbed his arm to steady him. Tomorrow, my real mother is giving me her kidney. Not because she bought me, but because she loves me. Do you even know what that means? Dad's face crumpled. For the first time in my life, I saw him cry. I thought I was helping, he whispered. I thought money could fix everything. It can't fix this, I said. But the truth might help. The truth? He laughed bitterly. The truth is, I loved you both, in my own twisted way, even if I didn't deserve to. Tom turned away. We should go. Surgery's early tomorrow. Wait. Dad pressed his hand against the glass partition. Tom, Talon, whatever name you choose, I'm sorry for everything. Tom paused at the door. Save your apologies for the other families. They deserve them more than I do. Back at the hospital, Maria was waiting with Mom. They'd been looking at old photos. Maria's secret collection of Tom growing up, taken from afar. How did it go? Mom asked. He apologized, I said. Too little, too late, Tom added, but his voice was tired rather than angry. Maria helped him back into bed. You need to rest. Big day tomorrow. As she fussed with his pillows, I saw Tom watching her with a mix of wonder and sadness. 35 years of lost moments, compressed into these few precious days. Hey, he said suddenly, after the surgery, would it be okay if I tried calling you Mom? Maria's hands froze. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'd like that, she whispered. I'd like that very much. Mom slipped out of the room quietly. I followed her to the hallway, where she leaned against the wall, shoulders shaking. It's okay, I said, hugging her. You're still his mom, too. She wiped her eyes. I know. We all have to learn to share now, even love. Inside the room, I could hear Tom and Maria laughing about something. It sounded like healing. The surgery was successful, Dr. Roberts announced to our anxious group in the waiting room. Both patients are in recovery. Mom collapsed into her chair, while Vanessa hugged me tight. Through the recovery room window, I could see Tom and Maria in adjacent beds, both groggy but alive. Maria's kidney function is excellent, the doctor continued, and Tom's body is accepting the transplant well. We'll monitor them closely, but I'm optimistic. I pulled out my phone, opened my email. The final draft of my story waited in the outbox, ready to be sent to Addison. But something felt unfinished. I need to add something, I told Vanessa. Watch them for me? In the hospital cafeteria, I rewrote the ending. Not about Dad's arrest or the other families coming forward, though that was important. Instead, I wrote about Maria's gift, about how love could heal what money had broken. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, one of the other mothers, asking to meet, then another and another. What are you going to do? Vanessa asked, reading over my shoulder. Help them find each other, I said, all of them. Back in recovery, Tom was awake enough to smile. Did it work? Perfect match, I said, squeezing his hand. Just like the DNA test proved. Maria stirred in the next bed. How's my boy? Your kidney's working great, Mom, Tom said. The word came naturally now. Mom appeared in the doorway with coffee and a newspaper. The headline read, "Local adoption scandal leads to national investigation." They're calling it the biggest adoption fraud case in state history, she said, handing me the paper. Your story did that. Our story, I corrected. We all told the truth finally. Not all of us, Tom said quietly. Dad still hasn't named all the families. He will. I showed them my phone. These mothers who are reaching out, they're not angry anymore. They just want to know their children are okay. Like I was, Maria said softly. All those years, just wanting to know you were happy. A nurse came in with medication. As she checked their IVs, Tom reached for both Mom's and Maria's hands. I've been thinking, he said, about names. Oh? Maria tried to sit up straighter. I want to keep Tom. It's who I've been my whole life. He squeezed their hands. But maybe Talon could be my middle name. Tom Talon. Mom tested it out. It's strong. Like both sides of who I am, he said. My phone buzzed again. Addison. Final draft? I looked at my family, all of them, complicated and messy, and healing, and typed back, almost, need to add one more thing. The nurse left, and Maria turned to Mom. Thank you, she said, for giving him a good life when I couldn't. Thank you for giving him life twice, Mom replied. Once then, once now. I added their words to my story, then a final paragraph. The truth isn't always simple. Sometimes it has many mothers, many names, many versions. But when we finally face it, when we let it heal instead of hurt, it can build something stronger than any lie. Send it, Tom said, reading over my shoulder. I hit send, then put my phone away. Outside the window, the sun was rising. A new day, a new kidney, a new truth. So what happens now? Vanessa asked. Now? I smiled at my brother, my whole healing brother, with 2 mothers and 2 names. Now we become the family we always should have been. Plus about 12 other families, Tom added, referring to Dad's other victims. The more the better, Maria said. I've waited 35 years for a family reunion. Speaking of reunions, Mom pulled out her phone. 3 more mothers called. They want to meet their children. Good, I said, because I have an idea. Tom groaned. Here we go. A foundation, I continued, using Dad's money, to help separated families find each other, to make something good from something terrible. The Truth Project, Maria suggested. Perfect. I reached for my laptop. Let's start now. After rest, the nurse said firmly, returning to shoo us out. We left Tom and Maria to sleep, their matching hospital bracelets catching the morning light. In the hallway, Mom stopped me. You did good, Sloan, she said. You broke the story, but you also helped fix what was broken. We all did, I said, by telling the truth. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Dad's lawyer. He's ready to talk about all of them. I showed the message to Mom. She nodded. Go, she said. There are more families waiting for their truth. I headed for the elevator, but not before looking back one more time. Through the window, I could see Tom and Maria sleeping peacefully, connected by more than just a kidney now. Connected by truth, by choice, by love. That was the real story, and it was just beginning.
You're not family anymore. The words still echo in my head, even after all these years. My sister Claire spat them at me as I lay in the hospital bed, my body aching from the bone marrow extraction that had just saved her daughter's life. I'm Esme, and that day marked both the end and beginning of everything I'd worked for. The irony wasn't lost on me. A 4th-year medical resident, top of my class, giving up my career to save my niece, only to be cast aside like yesterday's newspaper. Dr. Ward, your post-op vitals are stable. the nurse said, checking my charts. Dr. Matthews wants to discuss your recovery timeline. I already knew what he'd say. The complications from the donation had caused permanent nerve damage in my right hand. A surgeon with tremors isn't exactly in high demand. Send him in, I managed, trying to sit up straighter despite the pain shooting through my back. Dr. Matthews entered, his face grave. Esme, I've reviewed everything with the team. The damage is significant. I'm so sorry, but continuing your residency won't be possible. I nodded, having already accepted this reality the moment I'd agreed to the donation. I know Remy needed it. She's responding well? Yes, remarkably so. Your sister's family just left to see her in pediatrics. Without saying goodbye to me, of course. Classic Claire. The next few days passed in a blur of physical therapy and paperwork. My colleagues stopped by, their faces a mixture of pity and discomfort. Devi, my closest friend from residency, was the only one who didn't treat me like I was made of glass. This is bullshit, she said, perching on the edge of my bed. Claire hasn't even come to see you? Nope. Apparently saving her daughter's life wasn't enough to warrant a thank you card. What did Emiliano say? I laughed bitterly. Nothing. He's too busy protecting his precious reputation at the hospital to acknowledge the resident who torpedoed her career for his kid. A knock at the door interrupted us. To my surprise, it was Remy, my 14-year-old niece, looking pale but alive. So wonderfully alive. Aunt Esme? Her voice was small, uncertain. Can I come in? Of course, sweetie. I patted the bed, ignoring the pain the movement caused. She sat down, fidgeting with her hospital bracelet. Mom said... She said I shouldn't visit you, but I had to say thank you. My throat tightened. You never have to thank me for this, Remy. Never. But your hand... She glanced at my trembling right hand, tears welling in her eyes. Hey, look at me. I waited until she met my gaze. You're worth it. Every bit of it. The door burst open and Claire stormed in, her face flushed with anger. Remy, what are you doing here? I told you to stay in your room. Mom, I just wanted... out. Now. Claire's voice was ice cold. Remy gave me one last tearful look before shuffling out. I met my sister's gaze. Really, Claire? You're going to keep her from seeing me? You've done enough damage. She crossed her arms. Always the martyr, aren't you? The perfect aunt, the brilliant doctor, sacrificing everything. Well, guess what? Nobody asked you to do this. Nobody asked me. I struggled to keep my voice steady. You begged me to get tested as a donor. You cried in my arms when I matched. And now you'll hold it over our heads forever. Poor Esme, who gave up everything for us. I won't have Remy feeling guilty her whole life because her aunt couldn't be a doctor anymore. That's what this is about? Your pride? This is about moving forward. Clean breaks heal best. Isn't that what they taught you in medical school? Her lips curved in a cruel smile. Though I suppose that knowledge won't be much use to you now. I felt something inside me shatter. Get out. Gladly. And Esme? She paused at the door. You're not family anymore. Stay away from us. After she left, I lay back, my hand trembling worse than ever as I pressed the morphine pump. The medicine dulled the physical pain, but nothing could touch the ache in my chest. That night, I made two decisions. First, I would leave this city and everything in it behind. Second, I would find a way to make my voice heard, to ensure no other medical professional would have to choose between saving a life and losing everything. As I packed my meager belongings the next day, Devi helped me organize my discharge papers. What will you do now? She asked softly. I looked at my shaking hand, then at the hospital room that had been my home for the past week. I'm going to change things. The whole system needs an overhaul, and I'm going to make it happen. How? I don't know yet, but I've got nothing left to lose, and everything to prove. I smiled grimly. And someday, Claire's going to realize exactly what she threw away. Little did I know then just how prophetic those words would prove to be. And that's why we need comprehensive protection for medical professionals who become patients themselves, I concluded, stepping away from the podium to thunderous applause. Another successful testimony before the State Health Committee. 7 years can change everything. The trembling doctor had become a force in healthcare policy, though my right hand still shook when I was nervous. You killed it in there. Reagan caught up with me in the hallway, her heels clicking against the marble floor. The committee members were practically eating out of your hand. Let's hope it translates to actual votes, I said, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from unknown numbers. Probably more desperate healthcare workers seeking advice. Any word on the Thompson bill? It's looking good. Your story about the resident who lost her license after developing PTSD from a workplace assault really moved them. I smiled grimly. Sometimes the truth is all you need. We headed to our favorite coffee shop across from the Capitol building. Reagan had been my rock these past few years, from the day she'd hired me as a healthcare policy consultant to now, when we ran our own advocacy firm together. Speaking of truth, Reagan stirred her latte. Have you seen the latest medical malpractice statistics? Don't tell me they're getting worse. Afraid so, especially in private practices where doctors are trying to handle too many patients. She pulled out her tablet. There's one case making headlines, a doctor named Emiliano. I choked on my coffee. Emiliano? As in Emiliano Stevenson. You know him? He's my former brother-in-law. I hadn't spoken his name in years. What kind of case? Multiple patients claiming negligence. It's not looking good for him. Reagan studied my face. Are you okay? You've gone pale. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Something made me answer it. Is this Esme? The voice was familiar, yet different, older. Remy? My heart skipped a beat. Aunt Esme, I saw you on TV. Your speech about healthcare reform, you were amazing. I gripped the phone tighter, ignoring Reagan's concerned look. Thank you. How are you? I'm good. I'm actually pre-med now. She laughed nervously. Inspired by you, I guess. Remy, that's wonderful. My throat tightened. Does your mother know you're calling? No. Mom and Dad are. They're not doing great. The malpractice stuff. I've heard about it. I kept my voice neutral. Is that why you're calling? Sort of. Mom's been talking about reaching out to you. She thinks you might be able to help with your connections and everything. Of course she did. 7 years of silence, and now she needed something. Listen, Remy. I know it's not fair, she interrupted. What they did to you wasn't fair, but Dad might lose everything, and Mom? I've never seen her like this. I closed my eyes, remembering Claire's words. You're not family anymore. I have to go, Remy. Take care of yourself. Wait. I hung up, hands shaking worse than usual. Want to talk about it? Reagan asked quietly. Not really. I stood up. We should head back. The committee vote is in an hour. But Reagan wasn't letting it go. You know, your personal story is what makes you so effective. The doctor who sacrificed everything for family, only to be abandoned. It resonates with people. It's not a story, it's my life. Exactly. And now the universe is giving you a chance to write the ending. I laughed bitterly. What by helping the people who threw me away? By showing them exactly who you've become. Reagan leaned forward. Think about it. 7 years ago, you were a broken resident in a hospital bed. Now you're testifying before state committees, changing laws, saving careers. Let them see that. You want me to help Emiliano? After everything? I want you to do whatever will give you peace. She gathered her things. But remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's succeeding despite them. Back at the office, I stared at the wall of framed newspaper articles about our advocacy work. Former doctor transforms healthcare policy. Medical advocate wins landmark case. Healthcare reform champion speaks at national conference. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Claire's number. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Claire. Esme. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. I need your help. Funny how that works. I traced the tremors in my right hand. 7 years of silence, and now you need my help. Please, just meet with me. Let me explain. I thought about Remy, about karma, about revenge served cold. Okay, I said finally. Tomorrow, my office, 9 a.m. And Claire? Yes? Bring your checkbook. Nothing in life is free. You taught me that. I hung up before she could respond, a plan already forming in my mind. Claire wanted my help? Fine. But this time, I'd make sure she understood exactly what family loyalty cost. Claire arrived 10 minutes early, looking exactly as polished as I remembered, though worry had etched new lines around her eyes. She sat across from my desk, fidgeting with her designer handbag, a nervous tic she'd had since childhood. Nice office, she said, glancing at my credentials on the wall. You've done well for yourself. No thanks to you. I kept my voice professional, distant. Tell me about Emiliano's situation. It's bad. She pulled out a thick folder. 3 patients are claiming he missed crucial diagnoses. One of them. She swallowed hard. One of them died. And now you want me to what? Wave my magic advocacy wand and make it all go away? I want you to help me understand how to fight this. Her voice cracked. They're saying he was overwhelmed, taking too many patients to maintain our lifestyle. Like he chose money over proper care. Did he? Claire flinched. He's a good doctor. So was I. I held up my trembling right hand, until I chose family over career. Funny how life works out, isn't it? Esme, please, I know I hurt you. Hurt me? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make her wince. You destroyed everything I had and then abandoned me. Because what? You couldn't handle feeling indebted to your little sister? I was wrong. The words exploded from her. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong and proud and stupid, but right now my husband might go to jail. Our whole life is falling apart. I leaned back in my chair, studying her, the great Claire, finally admitting she was wrong. But was it genuine remorse or just desperation? Your whole life? I pressed the intercom. Reagan, bring in the file we discussed. Reagan entered moments later, handing me a manila envelope before giving Claire a cold look and leaving. What's that? Claire asked. An invoice. I slid it across the desk. For my services, both past and future. She opened it, her face paling. $2 million? Are you insane? Actually, I'm being quite reasonable. I ticked off points on my fingers. Lost medical career earnings. Student loans I'm still paying off for a degree I can't use. 7 years of therapy. Oh, and let's not forget the actual medical bills from the donation complications. We can't possibly. Can't? I pulled up some figures on my tablet. Your house is worth $1.5 million. Emiliano's practice before this scandal was valued at $3 million. Plus your investment portfolio. I smiled thinly. You can afford it. You're really going to make me pay for saving my daughter's life? No, Claire. I'm making you pay for what you did after I saved her life. I stood up, walking to the window. The donation was free. The betrayal, that comes with a price tag. And if we pay, her voice was barely a whisper, then I'll use every connection, every favor, every bit of influence I have to help Emiliano. I'm very good at what I do now, Claire. Just ask the medical board members who speed dial me for advice. A long silence followed. Finally, Claire reached for her phone. I'll need to talk to Emiliano. Take your time. But remember, the longer you wait, the more damage control will need to do. She stood up, clutching the invoice like it might bite her. You've changed. No, I've grown. There's a difference. I met her eyes. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about transactions. I'm just following your example. Mom? A voice from the doorway made us both turn. Remy stood there, looking uncertain. Remy? Claire's face darkened. What are you doing here? I asked Aunt Esme's secretary where her office was. Remy stepped inside, taller than I remembered, more confident. I thought maybe if we all talked. There's nothing to talk about, Claire snapped. We're leaving. Actually, I said quietly, I think Remy should stay. She's old enough to understand what's happening. She's a child. I'm not a child anymore, Mom. Remy's voice was firm. And I deserve to know why our family fell apart. Claire looked between us, her composure cracking. Fine. You want to know? Your aunt is trying to blackmail us. She'll only help Dad if we pay her $2 million. Is that true? Remy turned to me, hurt in her eyes. I met her gaze steadily. Sometimes the truth is more complicated than it seems. Ask your mother about the day I woke up from the donation surgery. We're leaving, now. Claire grabbed Remy's arm, but Remy pulled away. No, Mom. I want to hear everything. She sat down in the chair her mother had vacated. From both of you. I looked at my niece, seeing the same determination I'd once had in her eyes. Maybe this wasn't just about revenge anymore. Maybe it was about something more important, the truth. Okay, I said softly. Let's talk. Start from the beginning, Remy said, her eyes moving between Claire and me. What really happened that day? Claire sank back into her chair, defeated. Your father was at a conference. I was alone when the doctors said you needed a bone marrow donor immediately. And I was the only match, I added, watching Claire's face. Do you remember what you said to me, Claire, when you came to my apartment that night? Don't. Claire's voice was barely a whisper. No, I think Remy needs to hear this. I turned to my niece. Your mother came to me crying, saying she'd do anything, give anything if I'd help save you. Mum? Remy's voice was soft. I was desperate, Claire said. You were dying. What was I supposed to do? Tell her what happened next, I pressed. Tell her why you turned your back on me. Claire's hands twisted in her lap. I couldn't handle it. Seeing you there in that hospital bed, knowing you'd given up everything for us, the way everyone praised you, called you a hero, even Emiliano. Even Emiliano what? Remy asked. He said we owed her everything, Claire spat. That she was the better person, the better doctor. Do you know what it's like having your husband admire your sister more than you? I laughed bitterly. So that's what this was about? Your jealousy? It was about survival. Claire stood up, pacing. You don't understand what it's like living in your shadow. Perfect Esme, top of her class, everyone's favourite, and then you had to go and be the hero too. I did it for Remy. Did you? Claire whirled on me. Or did you do it because that's who you are? Saint Esme, always doing the right thing, making the rest of us look small in comparison. Stop it! Remy's voice cut through our argument. Just stop. She pulled something from her bag, a worn notebook. I found this last week when I was looking for Dad's old medical records. She opened it, revealing Claire's handwriting. It's Mum's diary from that time. Want to know what it really says? Claire went pale. Remy, don't. Esme's surgery was today, Remy read. The doctors said there were complications. She might never operate again. I can't bear to face her. How can I live with myself, knowing I let her sacrifice everything? It's better to push her away than watch her resent us for destroying her future. Silence filled the room. I stared at Claire, who had collapsed back into her chair, tears streaming down her face. You didn't push me away because you were jealous, I said slowly. You did it because you felt guilty. I couldn't stand it, Claire whispered. Every time I looked at you, I saw what we'd taken from you. It was easier to make you the villain than live with that guilt. So you made me think you hated me? That I meant nothing to you? I thought you'd move on. Build a new life. Be free of us and what we'd done to you. Remy stood up, moving between us. And now you need her help again. But this time, you're going to do it right. Aren't you, Mom? Claire looked up at her daughter, then at me. The invoice. I'll pay it. Whatever it takes. Not because you're blackmailing us, but because it's what we owe you. What I owe you. I felt something shift inside me, like a weight I'd carried for 7 years was finally lifting. Keep your money. What? I said keep it. I pulled out my tablet. But here's what we're going to do instead. I'll help with Emiliano's case, but on one condition. Name it, Claire said. We're going to set up a foundation for medical professionals who suffer career-ending injuries while saving others. The money you would have paid me will fund it instead. Remy's face lit up. That's perfect. Dad can be on the board. It would help his image with the medical community too. And, I added, looking directly at Claire, you and I are going to work on it together. No more running away. No more guilt. Just two sisters trying to make something good out of our past. Claire wiped her eyes. You'd do that? After everything? Family is complicated, I said, thinking of Reagan's words about revenge and success. But maybe it's time we both stopped letting pride and fear tear us apart. Remy moved to hug me, then hesitated. Is it okay if I pulled her close, feeling tears prick my own eyes. Always. Claire watched us, her expression a mixture of regret and hope. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not, I agreed. But Remy deserves to have her family whole again, and maybe that's worth more than any revenge I could take. My phone buzzed. Reagan, probably wondering if I needed backup. I ignored it, focusing instead on the two people in front of me. We had a lot of work ahead, both with Emiliano's case and rebuilding our relationship. But for the first time in 7 years, I felt like we might actually have a chance. The malpractice charges are worse than we thought, Reagan announced, spreading files across my desk. 2 weeks had passed since Claire's visit, and we'd been digging deep into Emiliano's case. How much worse? I asked, scanning the documents. 3 more patients have come forward. One claims Emiliano prescribed medication without checking their allergy history. Another says he missed obvious cancer symptoms for months. I rubbed my temples. Where's Emiliano now? At the hospital, trying to keep his privileges. Reagan hesitated. Esme, are you sure you want to help him? These allegations, they're not just paperwork errors. Before I could respond, Remy burst into my office, her face flushed. Aunt Esme, I need to tell you something about Dad's practice. Remy, shouldn't you be in school? This is more important. She dropped her backpack and pulled out her phone. I've been helping at Dad's office after school, scanning old files. Look what I found. She showed us a series of text messages between Emiliano and his office manager. My stomach dropped as I read them. He knew, I said quietly. He knew he was taking too many patients, cutting corners. Remy nodded, tears in her eyes. The office manager warned him multiple times, but Dad kept saying they needed the money to maintain their lifestyle. Mum's shopping, my private school, their vacation home. Does your mother know about this? No, she just thinks he was overworked. Remy sat down heavily. I don't know what to do. I love Dad, but people got hurt. Reagan cleared her throat. I'll give you 2 a minute. She squeezed my shoulder as she left. I studied my niece's face, seeing the same moral struggle I'd faced as a resident. You did the right thing, showing me this. Did I? It feels like betrayal. Sometimes doing the right thing feels wrong. I held up my trembling hand. When I agreed to the bone marrow donation, I knew there were risks. But I couldn't live with myself if I'd chosen my career over your life. And now, can you live with exposing Dad's mistakes? The question is, can he live with hiding them? I moved around the desk to sit beside her. Your father made choices. Now he has to face the consequences. Will he go to jail? Not if we handle this right. I picked up my phone. But first, we need to talk to your mother. Claire arrived 30 minutes later, looking harried. What's so urgent? I was in the middle of meeting with our lawyers. Sit down, I said gently. There's something you need to see. As Claire read through the messages, her face went from confused to horrified. No, she whispered. He couldn't. Mom, Remy reached for her hand. I think maybe this is partly our fault too. What do you mean? The pressure to maintain our lifestyle, the constant spending. Dad felt like he had to keep up. Claire's face crumpled. Oh God, the house renovation last year, the new car. I kept pushing for more. Listen to me. I leaned forward. We can still help Emiliano, but not by hiding this. He needs to take responsibility, make amends. How? We set up a restitution fund for the affected patients. He voluntarily suspends his practice and undergoes additional training. Most importantly, he comes clean about the systemic pressures that led to these mistakes. Use it to push for reform, Remy added, surprising me with her insight. Show how the pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle can lead good doctors to make bad choices. Claire wiped her eyes. When did you get so wise? I had a good example, Remy smiled at me. Aunt Esme showed me that integrity matters more than image. My phone buzzed. A text from Devi, my old residency friend. Heard you're handling Emiliano's case. Board meeting tomorrow. Need anything? Actually, I said, I think it's time we brought in another perspective. I showed them Devi's message. She's on the medical board now. If we approach this right, we might be able to turn this into something positive. How? Claire asked. By telling the truth. All of it. Including my story. I took a deep breath. The system needs to change, Claire. Not just for patients, but for doctors too. Maybe Emiliano's case can help make that happen. But his reputation will survive if he shows genuine remorse and a commitment to change. I squeezed her hand. Trust me on this. I've rebuilt my life once before. Remy hugged us both. We'll do it together this time. Looking at them, I realized something had shifted. The revenge I'd planned seemed hollow compared to the opportunity before us. A chance to create real change, to heal not just our family, but perhaps the system itself. Okay, Claire said finally. Let's call Emiliano. It's time he knew everything. As I picked up the phone, my hand trembled less than usual. Sometimes, I realized, the best way forward isn't through vengeance, but through truth, no matter how much it hurts. The medical board conference room felt colder than I remembered. Emiliano sat beside me, his once proud posture now slumped with the weight of confession. Across the table, Devi and 8 other board members studied the documents we'd presented. Dr. Stevenson, the board chairman spoke, you admit to knowingly exceeding safe patient loads and cutting corners in diagnoses? Yes, Emiliano's voice cracked. I lost sight of what matters most. The pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle. It became an excuse to compromise my principles. And now? Devi asked, her eyes meeting mine briefly. Now I want to make it right. He pulled out a folder. I've drafted a proposal. A complete restructuring of my practice, including a patient restitution fund from the sale of our vacation property. Claire, sitting behind us, inhaled sharply. We hadn't discussed selling the house. Furthermore, I added, standing up, Dr. Stevenson has agreed to work with our healthcare advocacy group to address the systemic pressures that lead to these situations. Your advocacy group? One board member raised an eyebrow. Isn't there a conflict of interest here, given your family connection? Actually, Remy's voice rang out from the back of the room. That's exactly why Aunt Esme should be involved. All heads turned as my niece walked forward, her pre-med textbook clutched to her chest. Young lady, this is a closed hearing, the chairman warned. Let her speak, Devi interjected. Sometimes we need to hear from those most affected by our decisions. Remy took a deep breath. 7 years ago, my aunt sacrificed her medical career to save my life. She lost everything because she put patient care above personal gain. My father, she glanced at Emiliano, made the opposite choice. Remy, you don't have to, Claire started. Yes, I do, Mom. Remy's voice strengthened. I'm studying to be a doctor because of both of them, because Aunt Esme showed me what integrity looks like, and because Dad's mistakes showed me how easily good doctors can lose their way. The room fell silent. Emiliano's shoulders shook with silent sobs. The question before us, the chairman said finally, is whether Dr. Stevenson should lose his license permanently. If I may, I stepped forward, my right hand trembling visibly. I'd like to propose an alternative. Proceed. Temporary suspension, yes, but also a mandatory restructuring of his practice under board supervision, regular audits, and, most importantly, his participation in a new initiative we're launching. I handed out proposals to each board member. The Medical Professional Protection Program, a foundation dedicated to supporting healthcare workers facing ethical dilemmas and preventing the circumstances that lead to compromised care. And who would fund this program? Another member asked. We would, Claire spoke up, standing, starting with the proceeds from our vacation home sale. And, she looked at me, the money we originally set aside to pay Esme for her sacrifice. Devi leaned forward. You were going to pay her? After 7 years? $2 million, I said quietly. The estimated cost of my lost medical career. But this program could help prevent others from facing similar losses. Or similar mistakes, Emiliano added, finding his voice. I'll speak at medical schools, share my story, show them how easily the pressure to maintain appearances can corrupt good intentions. The board members huddled together, speaking in low voices. Minutes stretched like hours until finally, the chairman cleared his throat. Dr. Stevenson, approach the table. Emiliano stood on shaky legs. I grabbed his arm, steadying him. The first time I'd touched my brother-in-law in 7 years. Your license will be suspended for 1 year, the chairman announced. During this time, you will complete additional ethics training and work with Ms. Ward's foundation. If, after this period, the board is satisfied with your progress and program implementation, you may resume practice under strict supervision. Relief flooded Emiliano's face. Thank you. I won't disappoint you. Don't thank us, the chairman nodded toward me. Thank your sister-in-law. Her advocacy carried significant weight here. As we gathered our things to leave, Devi pulled me aside. You could have destroyed him, you know, after what they did to you. Revenge wouldn't have helped anyone. I watched as Remy hugged her father, Claire joining them. Sometimes healing has to be bigger than our personal pain. The foundation's a good idea, Devi smiled. Need another board member? Actually, I glanced at my trembling hand, then at my family. I think we need all the help we can get. Outside the conference room, Emiliano approached me hesitantly. Esme, I don't deserve... You're right, you don't, I cut him off. But Remy deserves a father who learns from his mistakes. The patients deserve a doctor who puts their needs first. And maybe... I looked at Claire, who gave me a tearful smile. Maybe we all deserve a chance to rebuild what we broke. Starting now? Remy asked hopefully. Starting now, I agreed, feeling the weight of revenge finally lift from my shoulders. We've got work to do. 6 months later, I stood at the podium in the hospital auditorium, facing a room full of medical students and residents. The Medical Professional Protection Program's first symposium was underway, and the turnout had exceeded our expectations. Before we begin, I held up my trembling right hand, let me show you what sacrifice looks like, and then my brother-in-law will show you what redemption looks like. Emiliano walked onto the stage, noticeably thinner and greyer than before. His suspension had taken its toll, but there was a new clarity in his eyes. 3 years ago, he began, I chose profit over patience. Today I want to tell you how that decision destroyed lives, including my own. From the front row, Claire and Remy watched intently. Behind them sat the families of patients affected by Emiliano's mistakes. We'd invited them all, part of our commitment to complete transparency. My wife's sister, Emiliano gestured to me, showed me what real medical ethics look like. She gave up everything to save my daughter, and how did we repay her? By turning our backs when she needed us most? A woman in the audience stood up. My husband died because you were too busy to notice his symptoms. How do you sleep at night? The room went silent. This was the moment we'd prepared for, but it still felt like a punch to the gut. I don't, Emiliano answered honestly. Not really. Every night I see your husband's face. I see all their faces. That's why we created this program, not to erase our mistakes, but to prevent others from making them. Tell them about the changes, I prompted gently. Right. He straightened his shoulders. Every patient affected by my negligence has received full compensation from the sale of my properties. But more importantly, we've implemented a new patient care model. Reagan clicked to the next slide, showing our restructured clinic design. No doctor in our network will handle more than the recommended patient load, Emiliano continued. We've established mandatory rest periods, peer review systems, and ethical oversight committees. Another audience member spoke up. But how will you maintain profitability? We won't, Claire stood up. Not the way we used to. We've downsized our life, sold our excess properties. Medicine isn't about getting rich, it's about helping people. I watched my sister address the crowd, marveling at how much she'd changed. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple business attire. The arrogance had given way to humility. My sister taught me that, Claire added, turning to me. Sometimes the most valuable things in life aren't things at all. Remy joined us on stage for the next part. As a pre-med student, she began, I'm learning that medicine is about choices. Every day, doctors choose between what's easy and what's right. Which brings us to our announcement. I took over. The Medical Professional Protection Program is launching a scholarship fund for medical students who demonstrate exceptional ethical standards and for doctors who need support choosing patient care over profit. Devi stood up from her seat on the medical board panel. The board has agreed to integrate this program into our licensing requirements. Every doctor in the state will need to complete ethics training through the foundation. The rest of the symposium passed in a blur of questions, discussions, and tearful reconciliations between Emiliano and his former patients. By the end, even the woman whose husband had died approached him. I don't forgive you, she said quietly, but I appreciate what you're trying to do here. Make sure it matters. Later, as we packed up our materials, Reagan nudged me. Look at that. Across the room, Remy was showing Claire and Emiliano her latest anatomy test, a perfect score. Following in your footsteps, Reagan smiled. No, I shook my head. She's creating her own path, a better one. Speaking of paths, Claire joined us. The real estate agent called. The vacation house sold. The funds will be transferred to the foundation tomorrow. And the beach condo? I asked. Listed yesterday. She touched my arm. We really are changing, Esme. I know it doesn't make up for the past, but maybe it's not about making up for the past, I interrupted. Maybe it's about building a better future. Emiliano approached, holding a stack of business cards. 4 more hospitals want to implement our program, and 2 malpractice lawyers want to refer their clients to us for mediation. Good, I nodded. The more we expand, the more people we can help. Help begins at home, Remy announced, joining our circle. Family dinner tonight? I'm cooking. You cook? I raised an eyebrow. Well, I order really good takeout, she grinned. Come on, Aunt Esme, we've got 7 years of family dinners to make up for. Looking at them, my once broken family now piecing itself back together, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. The revenge I'd planned had transformed into something far more powerful. Redemption. Okay, I smiled, gathering my things. But first, let's finish what we started here. We've got a healthcare system to fix. One ethical decision at a time, Emiliano added softly. Together, Claire squeezed my hand. My right hand still trembled, but now it felt less like a reminder of what I'd lost, and more like a symbol of what we'd found, a way to turn our worst moments into something meaningful. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I reviewed the latest foundation reports. A knock at the door made me look up. Ready for the board meeting? Reagan asked, tablet in hand. Almost. Just checking these final numbers. I smiled at the figures on my screen. We've helped 38 doctors avoid burnout this quarter alone. Make that 39, Devi walked in, dropping a file on my desk. Remember Dr. Thomas from pediatrics? She was about to quit medicine after losing a patient. Our program got her the support she needed. And now? Back at work with a manageable patient load and twice-weekly counselling, Devi grinned. She says you inspired her. My phone buzzed, a text from Claire. Emiliano's first day back, nervous but ready. Thank you. Before I could respond, Remy burst in, waving a letter. I got in. Full scholarship to medical school. What? I jumped up to hug her. That's amazing. The ethics board was particularly impressed with her essay, Devi winked. Something about learning integrity from her aunt. And resilience from her dad, Remy added. He's different now, you know. The suspension changed him. Changed all of us. Speaking of change, Reagan checked her watch. We should head to the boardroom. The governor's waiting. I gathered my materials, including the trembling hand exercises my physical therapist had designed. The tremors would never fully disappear, but I'd learn to work with them, not against them. The boardroom was packed. The governor sat at the head of the table, flanked by state health officials. Claire and Emiliano were there too, along with several doctors who'd been through our program. Ms. Ward, the governor began, your foundation has transformed healthcare ethics in our state. We'd like to implement your model nationwide. Nationwide? I glanced at Reagan, who nodded encouragingly. The statistics speak for themselves, a health official interjected. Malpractice rates down 40%, doctor retention up 60%, patient satisfaction at record highs. But more importantly, Emiliano stood up, we're saving lives, both patients and doctors. That's why we're here, the governor continued. We want to establish similar programs in every state, with you heading the national initiative. I felt everyone's eyes on me. I'm honored, but before you answer, Claire interrupted, there's something you should see. She nodded to Remy, who pulled up a video on the main screen. My breath caught as faces filled the display, doctors we'd helped, patients who'd received better care, families who'd found closure. You turned our family's darkest moment into light, Claire's voice cracked. Now you can do the same for others. The thing is, I said slowly, I couldn't have done any of this alone. I looked around the room. Reagan's strategic brilliance, Devi's medical board connections, Claire's financial expertise, Emiliano's cautionary tale, Remy's fresh perspective. We succeeded because we worked together. So that's a yes? The governor asked. That's a we'll do it as a team. I held up my trembling right hand. This reminder of sacrifice. It's also a symbol of strength. Not just mine, but everyone who chooses integrity over ease, ethics over profit, healing over harm. I have one condition, Emiliano spoke up. The program must always include the patient families, their stories, their pain, their healing. It's essential. Agreed, the governor nodded. We'll start implementation next month. As the meeting concluded, Remy pulled me aside. Remember when you wanted revenge on my parents? Seems like another lifetime. You got something better, she smiled. You got your family back, and you're helping other families stay whole. Speaking of family, Claire joined us. Dinner at our new, much smaller house tonight. Emiliano's cooking. Actually cooking this time, Remy laughed. No takeout? I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The designer clothes and perfect makeup were gone, but something more beautiful had taken their place. Authenticity. You know, Claire said softly, I used to be so jealous of you. Your talent, your integrity. Now I'm just grateful you're my sister. Even with the tremors? I wiggled my fingers. Especially with the tremors. She grabbed my shaking hand. They remind us what real strength looks like. Reagan called us back to finish the paperwork, but I lingered a moment, watching my family, both blood and chosen, interact. Devi discussing medical ethics with Remy. Emiliano sharing patient care strategies with the health officials. Claire and Reagan planning program expansions. This wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I'd plotted my revenge. It was better. We'd turned personal pain into public good, family wounds into systemic healing. My hand trembled as I picked up my pen to sign the national initiative documents, but my signature was clear and strong. Like the foundation itself, like our rebuilt family, it wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was making a difference. And really, that was all I'd ever wanted to do as a doctor, make a difference. I'd just found a different way to heal.